Ja klar, warte ich. Ist einfach witzig. Ja, ich dachte...
Allez, il faut accélérer, monseigneur.
Mika Salo, nice to see you back here at Monaco. You must be especially disappointed to miss this race because you've always gone so well here.
Yeah, it's mixed feeling. It's nice to be on holiday also, but I really had a good race here. I love the circuit. It's really great, and but like I said, it's nice to have a holiday also sometime.
Now, testing in the Toyota hasn't gone so well for you. I believe you had an accident recently. Are you now fully recovered?
Yeah, not completely. I have a couple more weeks, and then I start driving again. And I just want to build the muscles. And so for 2 months, I haven't done anything, and just I had to lay down and take care of it. So it's getting there.
And the team's recently taken on one of our favourite people, Gustav Brunner. Is he making an impact?
Gustav is really good. I had a couple meetings with him already, and he put things happening straight away. And I think we're going to work quite well together, so I can't wait to start driving and have some new people around.
Look forward to seeing Australia next year. Thanks, Mika.
Allora intanto vedete una vettura che sta ufficialmente aprendo il circuito sulla vettura sotto il servizio del principe Alberto, accompagnato dalla quale dall'ex presidente che potete salutare con un applauso.
Vorbereitung für die 59 Prix in Monaco. Oh,
Formula One on ITV in association with Texaco.
And the Monaco Grand Prix is go, go, go!
Race day at Monte Carlo, perfect weather, the Principality bursting at the seams. Last year's winner, David Coulthard on pole. He's had his moments here since his podium in '96.
There's the spinner, and it's one of the McLarens. It is David Coulthard.
To the beat, y'all.
David Coulthard is out of the race. Bang goes the engine. There it goes. Look at that. That's worse than it was last time. And David Coulthard wins the Monaco Grand Prix. Over the line goes the McLaren, and David Coulthard moves up into pole position. Absolutely fantastic.
I'm absolutely delighted because Monaco is sort of billed as the most important place to have the pole. You know, as we saw last year, you're still going to be able to get to the end of 78 laps, which is one of the toughest races that we have in the calendar. But I think just as a standalone discipline to get a pole in qualifying here is a great feeling.
And it's great for us to welcome you to ITV's superb rooftop studio. Winning round here means more to the drivers than any other circuit, and Britain's David Coulthard will be leading the charge to that first corner at Saint-Devote. Tony Jardine and Mark Blundell are with me again. Now, Mark, how highly do you rate that pole of David Coulthard?
I think personally it's probably David's best qualifying session I've ever seen him have. And I've got to tell you, from a driver's perspective, that guy was under immense pressure. To put a lap together around this particular racetrack and get pole position, that's number one for me. He did a great job.
And Tony, absolutely crucial to be in the first three round here.
Well, it is, because overtaking is so difficult, but it also is a race of attrition. 4 finished in 66, in 96 just 5 finished, so keep the car going at all costs. Remember, in 98 they brought Schumacher's car and repaired it and put him back out on the track again.
Okay, thank you, Tony. If you're hearing a few noises behind me, don't worry about that. The car's just clearing their throats, really, before the start in just over 20 minutes' time. If you are joining us for the first time, because we are at Monaco, welcome to you. This is how the standings look as we approach the 7th Grand Prix of the season. Coulthard just 4 points behind Michael Schumacher, 4 times a winner around here. A big gap then to Barrichello, second last year. Ralf Schumacher has never finished here, and in fact only 9 finished the last Monaco Grand Prix. Okay then, Tony, David Coulthard's number came up in that qualifying hour. For me, his finest yet.
Oh, absolutely fabulous for him, but he had thumped the barrier and back on Thursday, and that knocked his confidence a little bit, and he wanted to have a real go in the 3rd section. So if you look at this for a commitment, and just listen to the tortured tyres. Look at this, there he's right on the edge of the barriers coming anti-nose. Look at the slide, right inch perfect, just kissing the barriers it goes out, absolutely superb. He knew the time was in there. Observers at the back said he looked visibly the quickest.
Never discount Michael Schumacher round here. For a long while it looked he was going to be on pole, but Mark, he had big problems at the start and at the end.
Yeah, I mean, Schumacher, we've seen before, does get flustered now and again, and this is a prime example. It comes up to Benaldi, to the chicane, doesn't really think that he can get through there and gets a little bit put off by him and goes straight through the chicane, gets cut short. This is critical for me. Portier corner, understeers off, just touches the rear left with his rear wheel, gets a clout, rear suspension's broken, back home in a pickup truck. That's not where Michael Schumacher wants to be, not where he wants to finish. He should have been on the front row on pole position, but he's not.
No matter who you are, Tony, Michael Schumacher or what, stray offline here and those barriers will bite you.
Absolutely. Juan Pablo Montoya, for example, he's a real street fighting man. Look at this crash, La Rascasse. The car was off balance. In '98, in the Formula 3000 race, he came from the back. This is Ralf Schumacher. He set standards here not as high. He gashed his leg last time. Fisichella, a man who's been 3rd and 4th place here. Great experience around the streets of Monte Carlo. Even he goes off. Now, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, very experienced, taking the curb on the inside. Very, very wide. He had trouble with the car. Quick donut and a spin there.
A half donut. He needs to brush up on that technique on turn.
He's not a good rally driver, is he?
OK, let's have a look at the grid then, shall we? David Coulthard's time, by the way, nearly a couple of seconds quicker than Schumacher's pole of last year. Then Hakkinen and Barrichello 5th. That's a Monaco best for Ralf Schumacher. Irvine 6th. Easily the best so far for Jaguar. And Fisichella out qualifying Jenson Button in the Benetton. Right, let's hear from the top 3. First up, a low-key Mika Hakkinen.
Disappointed because I'm not from pole, but and also disappointed because it's not Tim McLaren's on the front row, because that could have helped us a lot in the Grand Prix and could have give us maybe a little bit psychologically also a strong feeling.
I doubt that I had that perfect lap, but then it doesn't matter. It matters what is the result in the end.
Luck played a part, of course, because I didn't get any traffic, and tempting as it was when Michael came up with me in one run, I got well out of the way there, because you get back what you give, so I gave him plenty of space. And timing, they sent me out a little bit ahead of the other guys, and I got a clear track.
Ahead of the other guys in morning warm-up as well. David Coulthard, quickest of the lot. The temperature 24 degrees and rising. Coming up, Martin Brundle's grid walk. Now, be sure to stick around after the race if you fancy a touch of the special glitz and glamour at this Grand Prix. We have a champagne ticket for the ball.
Cheer for your team, please. Look, you've got to keep them close together. Deuxième place, c'est sa 13e saison. Jean Alési que l'on retrouve donc ici sur l'équipe France. Ensuite, on retrouve à ses côtés donc Olivier Panis, le vainqueur de 96 de Monaco. Olivier Panis qui est avec la barre donc au départ. Olivier Panis qui a donc 34 ans, 97 Grand Prix, 8 victoires ici à Monaco. C'est son 7e départ en principauté.
On row 6, the two Frenchmen, Jean Alési of Cross Daisy number 22 with a time of 1 minute 19.245, and Olivier Panis in BAR Honda number 8 with a time of 1 minute 19.294.
Un piccolo spazio per la mondanità, qui alla partenza come sempre ci sono tanti VIP, abbiamo notato che è stata la presenza di Naomi Campbell, di Pat Lady e di Ines Sastre per la felicità dei fotografi. E passiamo alla sesta fila dove troviamo Jean Alési sulla Prost che ha ottenuto il tempo di 1:19.245. Al suo fianco appare Olivier Panis sulla bar Honda con il tempo di 1:19.294.
Wir kommen zur 6. Startreihe und da sehen wir auf dem 11. Startplatz Jean Alési im Großen Racer mit einem 19.245. Direkt auf dem 12. Startplatz hat neben ihm Olivier Panis für den zweiten Lucky Strike BAR Honda am Start.
Eddie Irvine, much nearer the sharp end than you're used to. This must be the day when Jaguar breaks its duck.
Let's hope so. I think, you know, everything looks good for this race. The tyres are good. The car felt good this morning. We're in the right grid position. Our launch control is normally good, so there's really everything's heading the right direction.
Do you actually come into this race any form of tactic or just hope for the best around the first few corners?
Well, you got to hope you get round the first few corners. If you, there's not much point doing strategy if you start with the sort of idea that you're not going to make it around the first corner. You might as well not put any fuel in, but you just forget about the first corner, second corner, and you work the strategy out. And I think we've got a good strategy. You know, everything's fine. As I say, the first corner is, you do your best, but you never know. Best luck. Thanks.
Sights of the year. There are genuine concerns this time after the chaos of the last couple of races. More on that now from James Allen.
One left behind in Barcelona as the launch control system fails. Lots of ducking and diving in Austria as 4 are left behind. How many will it be today? The problem here in Monaco is that the start straight is just 12 metres wide, which means there's literally nowhere to go to get around a stranded car. In comparison, Barcelona and Austria are both 15 metres wide, so it's an extra 1.5 car widths. So you can see the scale of the problem. Now, the FIA has made it clear to all the teams, if they have any doubt whatsoever about their launch control system, they are not to use them. And there'll be heavy penalties if we have a repeat of what happened on the start in Austria. I can tell you that as of right now, Nick Heidfeld, Jean Alesi, both Benettons and both Jordans have decided not to use the system. The last thing we need today at the start is anybody going like this.
It's not just the track, which is incredibly narrow here at Monaco. This pit lane is less than 3 metres wide. It's only a metre wider than a Formula One car. And as you can see, it's absolutely crowded full of people and equipment. It's the most dangerous of all the pit lanes that we visit. So the drivers will be limited to just 60 kilometres an hour when they come in for what's likely to be just the one scheduled stop this afternoon. Is normally 80 kilometres an hour. The good news, though, is that this whole facility is going to be updated. So the teams can look forward to a more spacious and safer working environment in years to come.
Sounds as though Martin Brundle might just have to use his elbows a bit for a promenade along the grid. On you go, Martin.
Hello, everybody. Just busy chatting away here on the grid. James talked you through about the narrowness of the racetrack here, and let me just try and demonstrate that to you. I mean, can you follow me? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 paces across only. Something like 17,000 horsepower sitting on the grid here, but I guess that's not our problem today. Let's try and find somebody whose problem it is and see what they've got to say about it. DC, congratulations on a brilliant pole position, a new lap record for the place. What's going through your mind right now?
Just really focusing on the start and that's it, really, and talking to you.
Okay, and the race itself, I mean, you've got Schumacher and Hakkinen right behind you. That's something for anybody to cope with.
Yeah, it's better to have them behind. I think you can smell my exhaust gases. So it's always a tough race here, as you know. It's one thing is making the start, the other thing is getting to the pit stop, and then you've got to focus, you know, towards the end when everything's getting a bit worn out to try and keep it off the barrier. So this is probably the hardest Grand Prix of the season.
Good luck. I know you've got to get your head into gear on some things. Thank you very much. Let's have a wander down. And there's so many celebrities on this grid. You can hardly see the wood from the trees. I think I'm just about, other than the people who are working on this grid, I'm just about the only person I've never heard of on here, I think. I wanted to try and grab hold of Puff Daddy because he seems like a bit of an unusual man to have on a Formula One grid. Now, here's a man who we should just say hello to, Guy La Liberté. If you've ever been to a Cirque du Soleil show, this was the founder of the Cirque du Soleil. Guy, well, who's going to win the race today?
David. That's what I'm going for, DC.
You're a DC man, yeah?
Now, listen, he's a good friend of ours, and he's been doing an excellent job since the beginning of the season, so we're here to back him up.
Good stuff. Good to see you. See you later on. Let's have a wander down, see who else we can find. Is a quick word with maybe Mika. Are you in the mood, Mika, for a quick word to British fans?
Never, Martin, you know that.
Yeah, well, so we're... Okay, mate, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, obviously, you know, the Monaco is difficult the first corner in the first lap after the start. So I have to admit, I'm very happy if I'm going to be third coming out of the first corner. You know, that would be a fantastic place to continue the race like that. I'm not going to try anything too much. From experience, I know if you do try too much, It won't get further than first corner.
So if you're third heading into Casino, you'll be a happy man, and then a long way to go. Somebody's cuddling me here. I don't know who it is. It's the Bolt. Mr. Bolt. Don't switch off my... Bernie, thank you for talking to us, Mick. I can't believe how cool you guys are. Bernie, a quick word. Who's going to win the race?
This one here.
Yeah, you're just saying that because he's standing there. I never thought of you as a...
What do you expect? I'm a politician. I tell you what, do you want to have some money on him?
I'm not having any money with you on anything.
I'll put money on him then.
No, but you can have the computers change and make sure he wins or something.
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
You've done it before. Okay, Bernie, good to see you. I don't know who else is there. We can barely... where is... I wanted to talk to Sol Campbell as well. Let's see if we can find him. And, oh, here's Puff Daddy. Look, I mean, I don't know whether I say hello, Puff, or hello, Mr. Daddy, or, I mean, how the hell we approach him, I don't know. But let's... Naomi, is it possible to have a word? Mr. Puff Daddy, how are you?
How are you?
We're talking live to British fans back in...
What's up, Brit? What's up, London? How y'all doing?
Good stuff. I know you're not allowed to smoke on the grid, but I notice you're not really smoking.
Not allowed to smoke, but as soon as the race starts, I'm gonna light it up.
So you're just gonna chew on it. Are you nervous or something?
No, I'm never nervous. Are you nervous?
I'm not nervous at all. I'm really having a good fun, but I used to be nervous when I was a Grand Prix driver. But who you fighting? Who do you want to win this race?
I want David to win.
You want David Coulthard to win?
Yes, I do. I want David Coulthard to win.
We've got to go back to the studio. Thank you for talking to us. Goodbye. Cheers.
Thank you, Martin. Launch control looms. Do not adjust your sets. The Monaco Grand Prix comes next.
On row 9, Jensen Button in the Benetton Renault number 8 with a time of 1 minute 20.342. Beside him, Fernando Alonso, once again starting 18th on the grid.
Time to get in.
So you go through sector 2 rather than 9.
Dieses Wochenende große Probleme für das Orange Arrows Asia Tag Team. Somit nur in der 10. Startreihe zu finden. Josef Doppelwagen mit der Nummer 14 als 20 und Alba der Trainingszeit nach der 19. Startplatz Berlin. Und mit der Vorgang Teamkollegen Richard Modi, Unwagen mit der Nummer 20, 21, 336, 7 Trainingszeit und Richard auf die 20 Platz bei Offenbach. Dernière ligne est
It's the Monaco Grand Prix only on ITV. Race 7 of F1 2001. Martin Brundle's finished on the podium behind Michael Schumacher here. Alongside him, fresh from collecting a Special Achievement Award from the Royal Television Society, let's welcome Murray Walker.
Thank you, Jim. It was a great honour and it really warmed my heart. And talking of which, the old ticker's working overtime right now, because just in case everybody out there hadn't already worked it out, this is the big one. Sunshine by the truckload, glamorous women by the regiment. Grand Prix racing's most charismatic location. That is Formula One Monte Carlo style, with David Coulthard up front and Jaguar looking much, much better. Eddie Irvine in 6th position. You've heard what may be, but we sincerely hope will not be a problem from James Allen. Traction control. You know how narrow this circuit is. James has told you, Martin has shown you. Saint-Devote, the first corner this year, with a magnificent new statue of Grover Williams in the Bugatti, the man who won the first Monaco Grand Prix in 1929. What's your view of the start?
I think Mika Häkkinen summed it up nicely on the grid walk to say that, you know, if you're just holding position and you emerge from Saint-Devote on the first lap, it's almost an achievement around here. But as we know, it's very, very difficult to overtake. It's going to be a long haul, I think, to those first pit stops, Murray. We know from Austria, we think we know from earlier races in the year, particularly Austria, that the McLaren can probably carry more fuel than the Ferrari by 3 or 4 laps. It means they're going to be heavier at the start. Michael will be wanting to try to pounce early on and get away from the McLarens if he's got half a chance into turn 1. But of course they've all got launch control. If that works, they should be away from the grid, and then it'll just be a very long haul to that first pit stop. And it's so easy around here, Murray, to make one tiny slip. You need total concentration for an hour and 50 minutes in the most extreme circumstances, and one tiny lapse of concentration, you're virtually guaranteed to hit the wall.
78 laps of it. This race is going to last the thick end of 2 hours, and it is hot. It's going to be about 1 hour 50-minute race. The track temperature is 37 degrees. That's some 20 degrees hotter than it was in Austria 2 weeks ago. And they do literally thousands of gear changes in this race. It's just as well that they've got those paddles under the steering wheel to simplify things these days. In the old days, when they were doing it themselves with a gear lever, they literally came in at the end of the race with blisters on their hands. Passing, of course, as you've heard many, many times, is a major problem. Martin's talked to you about staying out a long time, and the McLaren staying out perhaps longer than the Ferraris. I wouldn't expect a stop, a refueling stop, before around about lap 50 out of 78 laps here at Monaco, and puts my mind back to 1992. That fantastic race when Nigel Mansell led Ayrton Senna, Nigel in the Williams, Senna in the McLaren. Mansell thought he had a puncture, had to come in. Senna took the lead. Mansell caught him and swarmed all over his gearbox for the rest of the race, but did not win it. 6 wins for Ayrton Senna, 5 wins for Graham Hill. And Michael Schumacher has won this race 4 times already. 94, 5, 7 and 9. Last year he was leading by a country mile, and a cracked exhaust pipe burnt out his rear suspension. David won the race. Can he do it again?
And in the warm-up this morning, Coulthard fastest then by a fraction from Häkkinen. So the 2 McLarens looking very strong through warm-up, and through free practice you have to say Häkkinen was fastest in 3 of the 4 of them. So we're expecting a lot of speed. That McLaren certainly looking much stronger, much more secure than it did in the early races of the season. But we know how acrobatic Michael Schumacher can be. And look at the state of those front tyres. Clearly Barrichello starting the race on used tyres. I think they get some understeer for the first 10 laps, brand new ones, and then they start to come in. Barrichello's deciding he wants good grip right from the start. And another set of Michelin this time on a Williams. But that'll be Ralf Schumacher then, and he also wants to start on, look, new rear tyres. You can see the shiny, the glistening of the rear tyres. That is the releasing agent that they put in the moulds. It takes a little bit of getting off just to, oh no, and Coulthard has stalled.
Oh, this is terrible. David Coulthard has stalled the engine. Everybody else gets away. If they all get clear, he's going to have to start, and Häkkinen comes out from behind him. If this is what happened to Michael Schumacher for David Coulthard. Now he's going to have to start from the back of the grid.
Yes, he is. Coulthard then, if they can get it running. Can't imagine how or why that has happened yet again on a McLaren. So just no idea, of course, standing up in the corner. He is obviously extremely angry about it. Hakkinen can make his way back through the field. James, what can you tell us?
I'm standing about 6 feet from the back of the McLaren. Coulthard punching the steering wheel in desperate frustration. Whether it's the technology or whether it's him, and it's another bit of what Ron Dennis referred to as brain fade, we will have to find out later in the race. The rear wheels are spinning. That's the sound of his engine firing up, guys. So he is going to go round. He will take the start of the race at the very back, Coulthard.
Well, I just cannot imagine anything that could possibly have been worse for David Coulthard. Here at Monaco, of all places, there he is going into Saint-Devote, up the Beau Rivage. Instead of first on the track, he is 22nd on the track. The man who is 4 points behind Michael Schumacher in the World Championship, the man who has scored points in every race so far this year, and the only one to do so. Cruel bit of luck. But something has happened to McLaren in the last 2 races. It looks as though, I don't know, but it looks as though it's a systems problem.
Who knows, Murray, who knows? But of course, he had to start from the back in Barcelona and lost his front wing in the first corner. So easy to do here as well. And Coulthard's only hope is that there's an aborted start, that somebody else stalls their engines, and with an aborted start or a red flag on lap 1, then he may have a chance of resuming his original grid position. But right now, the new lap record holder of this circuit is starting at the tail of the field.
Yeah, well spotted, Martin. That's what David Coulthard must be hoping for. And of course, Michael Schumacher there is now effectively in pole position, smiling all over his face. But as I said before, the same thing has happened to him in the past. But right now, it is Michael Schumacher up front. Mika Hakkinen behind him, now effectively second on the grid. You can see Rubens Barrichello's Ferrari behind Michael Schumacher's. Ralf Schumacher is now effectively 4th on the grid in the Williams, and Eddie Irvine up to 5th position. And there is the unfortunate David Coulthard. Well, teeth gritted, eyes slitted. He's going to have to really get down to it now. In the worst place in the world as the 3rd light goes on, the 4th light goes on, the 5th, and it is go, go, go! Schumacher leads! Schumacher leads into Saint-Devote. Are they all going to get around? And there's Montoya trying to go through on the inside. Fingers crossed. David Coulthard has already passed one tail ender. That will be Tasso Marquez. But Schumacher leads, Hakkinen leads, Barrichello leads, Ralf Schumacher 4th in the Williams as they come through Casino Square, down past the Hotel Metropole, turning into the Mirabeau. Now the grand hairpin. That is about a 20-mile-an-hour corner in first gear. And thank heavens, but David Coulthard won't be saying this, they have all got away safely. It's a good start at Monaco. And David is, I was wrong about him passing Tasso Marquez. And he is still last on the track. First on... Oh, somebody hit the wall. Somebody hit the wall. Who is it? It looks like a Sauber to me. It is a Sauber.
It's Raikkonen, isn't it?
Yeah.
No,
it's Heidfeld.
Sorry, it's Heidfeld.
Now, this is going to be a problem. There's not a crane there. Look there, you see Heidfeld slam into the wall.
I think there was some contact with the arrows and just launched Heidfeld. Front wheels will be off the ground, no way of turning in or braking. And Coulthard just making his way around the back of the field, just trying to avoid the various disasters, really not attacking on that first lap. Probably the sensible thing to do. But up front then, Schumacher leads over the line.
Well, now Michael Schumacher can control this race. He's second fastest on the grid, one of the fastest Grand Prix driver of all on record. And now with 4 Monaco Grand Prix victories behind him already, he has a clear track in front of him. He has Mika Hakkinen at the end of the first lap. A massive 1.1 seconds behind him. Doesn't look it on the screen, but it is. Rubens Barrichello 3rd. Ralf Schumacher in 4th position, and his teammate Montoya is right behind him. Now Montoya effectively started 6th, but he's gained a place already. And the Colombian has driven here in the past in Formula 3000, Pablo Montoya. He hasn't done all that well by his standards in qualifying, 7th on the grid, but here we are at the chicane. They come out of the tunnel at some 180 miles an hour. Schumacher, Hakkinen, Barrichello, Ralf, then Montoya, Eddie Irvine up there, Trulli, Villeneuve, Fisichella, Alesi, Panis, Raikkonen and Fredson back there.
So Michael Schumacher, dream start for him, Murray. If he has a little less fuel on board, it's perfect for him to be able to try and stretch away at the front end there. Hakkinen more having to defend from Barrichello than chasing after Michael at this time. But for Coulthard, still down in 21st place, passing a lot of people in Barcelona is difficult enough. Around here, Murray, virtually impossible.
Well, I'm sure James Allen or Louise will be trying desperately to find out what has happened to David Coulthard. They'll be talking to the McLaren people. We'll let you know as soon as we know ourselves. I have to say, sadly, it is of academic interest because my old cliche, anything can happen in Formula One, and it normally does. But for David Coulthard to claw his way up from 22nd on the grid into the points would be miraculous. To win the race would be unbelievable. But stranger things, not much, but stranger things have happened. Montoya is flying, Barrichello is flying, Eddie Irvine is in 6th position in the points, and the Jaguar team have yet this year to score a World Championship point. Irvine loves this circuit. He's had a 2nd, a 3rd and a 4th. He was 4th last year. Fingers crossed for him.
Look at those two BMW Williams on their Michelins, hanging on there very, very nicely in 4th and 5th place. Montoya, fastest man on the track last time around. And here is a replay of the start. Coulthard is missing, and really copybook starts for the... we think Montoya's off somewhere.
Yeah, there he is. There he is. It's the exit from the swimming pool. So that's the first retirement. Let's see what happens. Montoya runs wide, out steps the back, into the Armco, and that is the first right-hander at the swimming pool. He's parked it in a nice, tidy place. There's a crane there. They'll be able to haul the Williams BMW off the track. No points for Montoya.
Yeah, the marshals are particularly good down there, helped by that crane, and they'll operate under waved yellows, which means the drivers must significantly slow down, and that they will have to do, but they will clear that car very, very quickly. Montoya losing it in the first part of the swimming pool, whacking the barrier, launched across the curbs, I think, lost the back end of the car, and finished his accident at the end of the swimming pool. So a bit of an untidy length there of a swimming pool.
Well, Eddie Irvine is in 5th position, but it's the first 4 who are making the running, and down there in the pit lane you can see Bertie, Luciano Bertie, who had a very big crash yesterday when his brakes failed approaching Saint-Devant. But James Allen has got news for us.
Yes, I'm down at the McLaren timing stand. I just went up to Pat Fry, David Coulthard's senior race engineer. I said, have you got any idea what caused that? He said, yeah. I said, you're going to tell me? He said, no. Maybe after the race they'll let us know whether it was David or the electronics.
Well, yep, and nope are really no help. This is the third, presumably systems problem that McLaren have had in 3 races. They had one in Austria, of course, with poor Mika Hakkinen. They had one in Spain. If it is a systems problem again here, to put it mildly, they will be kicking themselves. You could see the alarm and the fury on David Coulthard's face. His eyes widened behind the visor. He looked across at the pit lane, as much as to say, it's gone, the engine's gone, I've lost the power. That's exactly what happened. He's now in 19th place. He's got past Montoya, of course. He's got past Heidfeld, of course. They're both out of the race. He's now 18th because he's got past Bertie and Tasso Marquez. And David Coulthard's lapping in about 1:24.9. That's 1.1 seconds slower than Michael Schumacher, who's currently the fastest. But of course, Coulthard is being blocked all the way. He's having to fight his way past people.
Yes, he's done a new fastest sector in the middle on that last lap. As soon as he gets clear air, he'll just home straight in on the guy in front because he's got a faster car. As we know, he's really been on form around here. Did I see what was Hakkinen passing? Was that a Ferrari that Hakkinen? We're behind Hakkinen, or is Michael Schumacher's lead's now 1.9? No, it must have been Barrichello I saw in the background.
Yeah, it's very easy to get back. Barrichello has really been flying in the second Ferrari, and there is Michael Schumacher. He's coming through now. He's coming through to complete his 5th lap. On lap 4, he led by 1.9 seconds. Up to Saint-Devant he goes. He's increased his lead by 0.7 of a second in that 1 lap to 2.5 seconds. And Rubens Barrichello is hanging on behind him. But the top Michelin runner at the moment, Ralf Schumacher, the man who won the San Marino Grand Prix in the Williams BMW, is holding on to Barrichello and Hakkinen ahead of him with no trouble at all. 1:23.9 for Hakkinen, 1:24.1 for Ralf Schumacher. There he is. His teammate Montoya already out of the race, as is Nick Heidfeld. So 2 retirements, 22 started, 20 are still running. David Coulthard, who got away last, is now 18th.
Well, we know the Bridgestones are probably graining a bit and hurting a little bit for the first 10 laps. Michael, just with a piece of debris there, caught a piece of ribbon or something, caught, no problems at all for him. That's well clear of any radiator ducts or brake ducts, so no drama for Michael Schumacher. But the Michelin tyres of Ralf Schumacher, current 4th place man, he looks good at this stage. Will he be able to hang on in there as those Bridgestones really come into play between lap, say, 12 and lap 56 or whenever they're coming in?
Well, as if he hadn't got any talent, and heaven knows he's got enough of that. This is where a race-trained brain like Michael Schumacher's really comes into its own. This is his 150th Grand Prix. But of particular interest is the blue car that you're watching now. It's it's Giancarlo Fisichella. He's in 8th place in the Benetton, having started in 10th position. The Benettons are going much better here. They have a massive power deficiency with their Renault V10 engines, but it doesn't matter as much at Monaco as it does at some of the faster circuits like Silverstone.
So we're on lap 7, and last time around, for the first time in this race, Mika Hakkinen, 2nd place man Hakkinen, was slightly faster than leader Michael Schumacher. The first time Hakkinen's been able to peg that lead that Schumacher's built up of 2.4 seconds then, and that is Coulthard cruising up to the back of both the arrows. The problem he's got is he's got to pass them fair and square. He has no advantage of blue flags. If he was lapping them, they'd have to scamper out of the way within 3 corners. And the problem for Coulthard is, as Schumacher and co come through the field and start lapping cars, which they will do several times, many of these cars, then they get the benefit of the blue flags, and Coulthard's got to muscle his way through.
Well, the lead of the 2 orange arrows is Enrique Bernoldi, the Brazilian driver, with his teammate Jos Verstappen tucked up behind him, and David Coulthard looking for a way past both of them, as there is Jenson Button, there is Alonso, here is Bernoldi, followed by Verstappen, followed by David Coulthard in 18th position. Into the swimming pool, left-hander, right-hander, right-hander, left-hander coming up, then down to the Rascasse. You can remember what James Allen was saying about how narrow this circuit is, how difficult it is to pass. And if you put your car in just the right position, as Senna did in 92, even if you're Nigel Mansell, you're not going to get past. Well, even if you're David Coulthard and you've got a power advantage over the car in front, it's not going to help you as much as it would in other places. He's just got to harry Bernoldi in front of him, who has been passed, incidentally, by Jos Verstappen.
I often think a sense, I know if I had a car that was down the back end of the field and you've got a guy behind you who's out of position, you know he's going to get you in the end. His car is much faster, and often you can cause yourself a lot of loss of time by fighting the inevitable rather than just letting him through and letting him get on with it. But you know, that's a common sense mentality when you're out of the car. When the adrenaline's flowing in the car, you don't want to give anything, of course.
Human nature says they shall not pass. It's the Maginot Line philosophy. And Mika Hakkinen has just put up the fastest lap of the race. He was 2.5 seconds behind Michael Schumacher. He's closed it to 2 seconds. Now, can David Coulthard do anything about Bernoldi? Because Verstappen has. Verstappen's got past his teammate and he's pulling away from him. David Coulthard still 18th. He's got 12 places to gain before he even gets into the points.
And Hakkinen then another new fastest lap at 1:22.3. The gap now down to just 1.6 seconds. So Hakkinen regrouping, coming back at Michael. Does Michael Schumacher have an answer? And there is the scrap. See it for yourself. Hakkinen definitely close to that Ferrari gearbox.
Yeah, McLaren, who had problems in the first 2 races this year, are just as quick, just as reliable as Ferrari now. And in Mika Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher and David Coulthard, of course, you've got the finest drivers in the world. 2 of them up front. Schumacher leading the race. We're on lap 9. Here is the race order as they exit the tunnel at 180 miles an hour. Down to the chicane, round to the swimming pool. Michael Schumacher leads Hakkinen by 1.6 seconds, with Rubens Barrichello 3.9 9 seconds behind the leader, third place. Ralf Schumacher is still fourth and dropping back. Eddie Irvine, magnificent sixth in the Jaguar. Sixth is Trulli, seventh is Jack Villeneuve in the BAR. Eighth, Fisichella, ninth for Lacey, and 10th, Panis.
Now, fifth then for Irvine. Jensen Button down in 14th. Not too bad, started 18th. Up to 14th, would have gained 1 place with Coulthard's demotion from the grid. Nonetheless, Jensen having a reasonably strong race. We're going to take a short break.
Lap 11 out of 78 as you look at Jensen Button's Benetton coming towards us, pursued by Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, you were seeing the bubble they blew up there off the back of Jensen Button's Benetton was the gurney flap, the right angle flap that's on the rear wing that gives a bit of extra downforce, makes the air stay attached to the rear wing for longer, and then helps them. That will certainly affect the balance and the way that the back end of Button's car sticks to the racetrack, and that happened a couple of laps ago. Button then still down in 14th place. Coulthard making no impression on the field now, tucked up behind Bernaldi's arrows, and there you see it. Close enough, but in the dirty air, you get a bit of understeer. And the driver in front in a corner like Raskas will always, of course, be on the throttle 1 car length before you, and the acceleration of these cars, you're going to have to try and outbrake him at the end of the straight. And of course, as you can see, it's 1 man at a time through a lot of these corners. And here we see Coulthard. Is he going to have a nibble up the inside into back? That would be a brave move. Running over that gurney flap there behind Coulthard's car, the gurney flap of Button's Benetton.
Well, all that David Coulthard can do, look how much Häkkinen has closed up on Michael Schumacher as they come through on their 12th lap. But all that David Coulthard can do is pressure Bernaldi. The Brazilian is inexperienced at Formula One. This is only his 7th race, but he's got a lot of racing miles behind him, and he's in the right place to just stay where he is and keep David Coulthard back. Schumacher leads, and Häkkinen's done a fastest lap. The lead is down to 1 second, and Michael Schumacher is now going to have to get past Luciano Berti with the yellow flash on his helmet in the blue Prost car. He is 20th. They're starting to lap them already on lap 13.
So that's a good scrap there. That'll be Panis, Raikkonen, Frentzen, Della Rosa. So you're looking at 10, 11, 12 and 13 with Jensen Button there just in the background.
And that's a very early stop for Panis. Turns into the pit lane. hopefully we'll have a look and see what it is. I'm amazed that he's come in as early as this. Has he got a problem, or it's
definitely an unscheduled stop, Murray. No way you'd have a strategy and a problem with the right rear. Looks like they weren't really expecting him. He has come off the track very, very quickly. So Panis then, maybe he sensed a puncture, maybe he's nerfed a barrier off. We think it could be a puncture. We're hearing from the F1 ITV pit crew, but let's see if he carries on. Sometimes if you've whacked a barrier, you go back out hoping it's all right. Turns out not to be. But Häkkinen then took 3/4 of a second out of Michael Schumacher last time. What's happened? Häkkinen's had a very, according to the computer, a very, very slow mid-sector. And yes, look, he's fallen away a lot, some 6 or 7 seconds.
Oh, hello.
And there's Häkkinen, look, and that was Barrichello we watched him. So Häkkinen then, very, very slow through the middle part of the previous lap.
And Barrichello, of course, up into second place. Now, that's going to make it even stronger for Michael Schumacher, even harder for Mika Häkkinen, because with 2 Ferraris in front of him, although Rubens Barrichello will be as intent on winning this race as Michael Schumacher is, with Ferrari first and second, you can be very sure indeed that team orders will rule, and we know what team orders in Ferrari means. It means Schumacher wins if he gets the chance.
Well, Häkkinen was coasting out of the tunnel when we picked him up very late in his problem, so whether he's nerfed the barrier or whether he had some kind of ignition cut, we don't know. But he lost some 7 or 8 seconds in the middle of the previous lap, and that's why then Barrichello is up to P2, but he's 7 seconds behind Michael Schumacher.
P2, place 2, lap 14, Schumacher, Barrichello, 7 seconds between them. Mika Häkkinen 2 seconds further back. It's turning out to be a black race for the grey and black McLaren team. David Coulthard 17th, he's ahead of Marquez, he's still behind Bernoldi, and Alonso in the Minardi is an excellent 15th.
Panis in the pits again, so maybe I was right on that. He did whack the wall at some stage, but Häkkinen 5 seconds slower again in the mid part of the lap. So some kind of fuel problem, Murray, and we think Häkkinen has pulled out of the race. So Häkkinen out of the race, bad day so far for McLaren. Coulthard down the back, Häkkinen out. James, what can you tell us?
Well, I'm down here, a complete surprise, his arrival in the pits. Steve Hallam, his chief engineer, was talking to him on the radio. Obviously something to do with the rear suspension they're looking at. Maybe an ignition possibly problem, but they were giving him advice on different things he could try. He's hit the barrier, I think. Yes, they're checking the rear suspension to see if there's any damage. He's having problems steering the car, I believe. They were giving him advice over the radio, and suddenly he arrived. And the engine's still running, so he's still possibly, yes, they're going to get him out of it again. They think he's okay to continue.
But he's saying the car's not handling right, and let me tell you, you always, to the merest, finest degree, you know if the car's not right. So Häkkinen rejoins the track. They had a good old pull around on the suspension. He clearly thinks that in the middle of the racetrack, he's just not getting the balance and grip he needs. And it must be quite dramatic to make an unscheduled stop, Murray.
Well, yeah, not only that, but as you can see, David Coulthard is having a real go at Bernoldi, saying to the Brazilian, let me by, and the Bernoldi is saying, not on your life, I'm not going to let you by, I don't have to let you by. We are fighting for track position, and I'm going to gain it. And now Mika Häkkinen is behind David Coulthard as a result of that long stop and those 2 delays on the previous lap. He is 17th, David Coulthard is 16th. Michael Schumacher and Barrichello first and second, and the place is changing there at the chicane with Kimi Raikkonen going through.
Raikkonen's got a problem. So past goes Bernoldi and Coulthard then. Raikkonen, I think, I just about hear it misfiring or something from the camera down at the corner there. And really, at the end, David's just going to have a bit of a go at this guy. He's now getting to the point where he may as well risk losing a nose or a wheel, because he's losing some 2.5 seconds a lap. He's got to clear this Arrows.
Right, just a careful pause for deliberation now as you watch. Although here's yet another retirement. Into the pits comes the BAR,
Panis,
and it is Olivier Panis. So he joins Nick Heidfeld, he joins Montoya, he joins Panis. Is Mika Häkkinen going to be a retiree soon? Anyway, we're on lap 16 out of 78, and into the pits comes the Sauber of Kimi Raikkonen. They're refueling it, putting new tyres on. They might just as well. Now, out he will go. He was running in 9th place. He's down now to last.
Yeah, he's getting out of the car. I mean, it looks silly that they change the tyres and refuel it when you know there's probably an engine problem, but it's just procedure. It's an automatic procedure. Give it gas, give it tyres. That buys you a few seconds to talk about what the problem is and see if there's a fix. But I suspect some kind of engine problem. That if I heard the engine note right when they were over the far side of the track on that camera at the chicane.
Well, to describe the Monaco Grand Prix as a race of attrition, it always is a masterpiece of understatement. I mean, it's not at all unknown for only 5 cars to finish the distance, for only 3 of them to be on the same lap. It is a real car breaker. The concentration that the driver is required to have is massive, because there are all these corners. You are up to a maximum speed of 180 miles an hour through the tunnel, 20 miles an hour minimum round the grand hairpin. David Coulthard has still not got past Benoldi, but he's now moved up to 15th position as a result of the retirements. Nick Heidfeld, Montoya, Panis, Kimi Raikkonen, and Berti, Luciano Berti, is running 18th and last into Casino Square.
Yeah, and Coulthard's quicker on the way out. Can he have a nibble down into Mirabeau and finally launch past? Yeah, I think he's got his best chance now. Just, well, look at that Arrows is braking nice and late, isn't it? It'd be interesting to see how much fuel they're carrying, and he can certainly brake every bit as late as Coulthard. Coulthard is sitting there praying that most of the people in front of him are on a 2-stopper. It's his only chance.
And Mika Häkkinen is in the pits again. I can tell you that. You can't see it on the screen, but Mika Häkkinen is in the pits. His race looks as though it is run, and as though there is only one McLaren on the circuit now. The one that you're looking at, David Coulthard, still, of course, second in the World Championship. The gap between himself and Rubens Barrichello. There is Mika Häkkinen. And Louise, what's the news?
As you can.
What's the news, Louise?
Well, I'm still here with Juan Pablo Montoya, Murray. Juan Pablo, your first Grand Prix here, short and not very sweet either. Tell us about the accident.
I just made a mistake. When I went back on the power, I was running wide in the chicane. I went left a bit early. When I went back in the power, the car understeer off, and I hit the curve in the right-hand side and just threw me into the wall.
When you lost the lead in Brazil, you accepted your fate with a smile. You walked back to the pits here with a face as black as thunder. Why were you so angry?
Because, you know, I made a very silly mistake I shouldn't have done, but you learn from that.
Thanks, Juan Pablo.
There was a bit of a harouche in the Williams team, incidentally, between, as you're watching Mika Häkkinen steering wheel off, there was a bit of a harouche in the Williams team because the spare car had originally been allocated to Montoya. It was switched to Schumacher, Ralf Schumacher, and David Coulthard pushing, but this is a perfect demonstration of the fact that if you sit on the racing line, the speed differential between the cars here is so small that it's virtually impossible to get past. Mika Häkkinen retires from the Monaco Grand Prix. Yes, he's a previous winner in 1998, he was second in 99, but it has not been his luckiest circuit.
And this is exactly what I was talking about earlier, just about the 2 slowest men on the racetrack are Benoldi and Coulthard. And while Benoldi's watching his mirrors and defending what is 14th place, he's just losing a bucket load of time. His mate Verstappen, who he was racing with for a while, is now up in 11th place, zooming through the field. He'd almost be better letting Coulthard go, stop the defensive driving, and get sucked along by Coulthard to catch the pack in front. But right at the moment, he wants to be the man who raced David Coulthard in a McLaren, and can't say as I blame him, but he's not using his brain.
Yeah, Jos Verstappen was 8th fastest in the warm-up this morning, and he started 19th on the grid. He's found something. Now, lap 19 out of 78, so there's 59 laps still to go. Michael Schumacher, Ferrari, leads Barrichello Ferrari by 7.5 seconds. Ralf Schumacher in the Williams is third, 20 seconds behind the leader. Eddie Irvine in the Jaguars moved up to 4th now. That's where he finished last year, 22 seconds adrift. Trulli is in 5th position in the Jordan Honda, 27 seconds behind. Jack Villeneuve is in 6th position in the BAR, looking good for another World Championship point, 28 seconds behind. Fisichella 7th, Alesi 8th, Frentzen 9th, and Pedro de la Rosa, 2nd Jaguar, is 10th, so both the Jaguars are in the top 10 places, maintaining their improvement as a result of the massively improved aerodynamic package they have here compared with previous races.
Yeah, good. People doing a good job out there. Irvine 4th, Trulli 5th, Villeneuve 6th, Fisichella 7th, and that is De La Rosa.
Yeah, as we talk about both the Jaguars being in the top 10, out goes De La Rosa. He stalled the engine, obviously.
technical fault there. De La Rosa, knowing that's a smart place to park, away from the firing line of the cars, just catapulting through that first part of the swimming pool.
And of course that moves David Coulthard up a place to 14th, but it moves Bernoldi up to 13th, and still the Scotsman cannot get past the Brazilian. Round Saint-Devot, up the Beau Rivage, turns left at the Massenet, third gear, 85 miles an hour. It's a long, long corner to the right-hander at the top of the hill at Casino Square, plunging past the Hotel Metropole on the left, building up to, and Coulthard looks again, and again Bernoldi shuts the door.
Yeah, Bernoldi's demonstrated quite clearly there. He will just turn into that corner. Coulthard spotted that, I'm sure, a few laps ago, and he just can't, you know, he looks like yeah, and the blue flag being waved there for the Arrows, unless the race director has instructed that, then he should not be receiving the blue flag. They are racing for position.
Yeah, they're fighting for track position, as you pointed out already, and Bernoldi is perfectly entitled to go wherever he likes, provided he doesn't weave consistently and stop Coulthard getting past. He doesn't have to do that here. The marshal was out of order, unless, as you suggest, he may have had direct instruction from Charlie Whiting, the race director.
Well, there's a line on the computer for car 17 to receive a wave blue flag, but that is Raikkonen and not Bernoldi. So I imagine that the marshals waved it at the wrong car. But you know, you tell me where the numbers are on these cars.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
can't see them.
In which case, Raikkonen has got back on the track after that problem that we saw earlier on. He's 4 laps down already. There are effectively 14 cars left in this race on the same lap, of which the 14th and last is David Coulthard, who's got past Marquez in the Minardi, Berti in the Prost, De La Rosa out of the race in the Jaguar. I thought Kimi Raikkonen was out. Mika Häkkinen certainly is. Olivier Panis certainly is in the BAR. Montoya is, and Nick Heidfeld is. So not a good race for Sauber so far. Not a good race for Williams. Not a good race for BAR. Terrible race for McLaren, who are so strong in the Constructors' Championship. McLaren are 18 points behind Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship, and at the present moment Ferrari are on a possible 14 World Championship points in the Constructors' contest, compared with McLaren with nobody in the first 6. So we're looking at the possibility of Ferrari striding away in the Constructors' Championship, and of course Michael Schumacher extending his lead over David Coulthard if he finishes where he is in first place. We're far from finished here at Monaco, but we're leaving temporarily now. we're on lap 24 now, out of 78, and the mice are getting at the machinery. There's been quite a few retirements. Nick Heidfeld is out in the Sauber, Montoya is out in the Williams, Panis in the BAR, Mika Hakkinen has retired, a previous race winner here at Monte Carlo, retired the McLaren. Pedro de la Rosa has stopped the second Jaguar when he was in the top 10, he stopped him in the swimming pool area. Kimi Raikkonen is still staggering round in the second Sauber. Not a good race for the Swiss team, but he's 4 laps behind. Effectively, there are 16 cars and drivers out of the 22 who started, of whom the last is Luciano Berti in the Prost. He's been lapped. Tasso Marquez in the European Minardi has been lapped. He's 15th. David Coulthard still, after all these laps, hasn't been able to get past Enrique Benaldi. He's in 14th place. Top 10. Michael Schumacher, Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher, Eddie Irvine, a magnificent 4th in the Jaguar, Trulli 5th, Villeneuve 6th, then it's Fisichella, Alesi, Frentzen and Verstappen.
Yeah, the sadness is Coulthard is losing 3 seconds a lap now, stuck behind Bernaldi. The pair of them still the slowest cars on the racetrack. He just cannot clear him. And the irony of that, Murray, is Coulthard's the next man to be lapped. So as soon as Schumacher arrives, the blue flags will be waving. He'll have to leap out of the way, otherwise he'll get a stop and go. But that's when that's probably his best chance of launching past his arrows, which appears to be able to break just late enough to prevent Coulthard getting anywhere near passing him. And there is Michael Schumacher homing in to lap Coulthard.
Yeah, now there's only about 4 or 5 seconds between them on the track. There is 74 seconds between them in terms of time. So Benaldi, who is in 13th place, Coulthard, who is in 14th place. The next one round the corner you'll see is race leader. Here he is, Michael Schumacher, got an enormous lead, and basically what Michael Schumacher has got to do now is keep it going, because he's 14 seconds ahead of his teammate Rubens Barrichello, who will be a buffer, a protector from anybody who can attack from behind. But since Ralf Schumacher, 3rd in the Williams BMW, is only lapping at the same speed as Rubens Barrichello and is 11 seconds behind the second Ferrari, I don't think Michael Schumacher's got anything to worry about except reliability. And anything can happen.
Eddie Irvine then in 4th place. You're still watching Benaldi 13th now, Coulthard 14th, but Irvine up there in 4th, probably having Jaguar's strongest ever race, almost certainly Jaguar's strongest ever race since they came into Formula One, Murray.
Yeah, it's good to see. Niki Lauda now in charge of the whole Ford Premier Product Group, and that is Luciano Berti, who has stopped at Sandoval. There is the statue of the Williams Bugatti in the background I was telling you about. Let's see what happened to Luciano Berti. Well, he just stops, turns left. He's obviously got a mechanical problem.
Yeah, and that he had a bizarre accident there, didn't he, on Saturday, when his brakes failed totally. Ended up having to bury it in the tyres so as not to run underneath a breakdown truck a long way down that escape road. So that is not Luciano Berti's favourite corner.
Yeah, that bloke down at Saint-Devote sort of listlessly waving the blue flag. I really don't know why he's doing that of his own initiative. And Coulthard goes for it now.
He's going to have to nerf him off. That's his only chance. David's, you know, we're well, the darker side of me, but I'm afraid we all think the same way. He's got to clear the arrows. The arrows, as demonstrated quite clearly, it will just turn across his nose. He'll have to nerf it as his only chance. I bet he wish he'd got a slightly longer point on that nose and just give him a little kiss into one of these corners, because he's got to clear past it.
Yeah, and even if he does that, the gap between himself and the next bloke down the line is Fernando Alonso. Incidentally, the European Minardi driver. And there he goes! David Coulthard and Michael Schumacher together, and Schumacher has now lapped David Coulthard in his closing up on Benaldi.
I think we've got a pretty disgruntled Coulthard there, because he didn't need to let Schumacher go that early. That's giving a lot of help, a lot of respect, but he needed to be right there when Schumacher passed the arrows. So for me, it was his best shot to pass the arrows. Now he's got a better run in, but in no way can outbreak him into Saint-Devote, I don't think.
Martin, you know David Coulthard as a man and a friend and a colleague better than most of them. What will be his mindset now? Despair or determination?
I think he'll be angry at whatever happened on the start line, angry to see Michael Schumacher just to rub a lot of salt in the wounds. Louise, what can you tell us?
Well, I'm standing with Mika Hakkinen, who's just arrived back in the paddock. Mika, Was it a car problem? Did you hit the barrier? Can you tell us what happened?
I didn't hit any barrier or anything. It was just pulling very heavily on the right. And when it was doing that, it was too risky to continue, you know. In acceleration, you come out the corner, went on the gas. Some reason pulled on the right. But the team is checking it what it is. Extremely unusual problem, you see.
It's turning into a nightmare day for McLaren. What's the best that David can hope for today?
Score points.
Thanks very much.
It could be pulling right with a differential problem or drive shaft problem. If it's only pulling right on the power, then it's something in the powertrain clearly. But as Mika said, that's an extremely unusual problem.
Yeah, now it's the 5th race that Mika Häkkinen has failed to finish this year. He didn't finish in Australia, in Brazil, in Spain, in Austria. Now he hasn't finished at Monaco. He hasn't been on a podium this year. He's only had a 4th place at Imola and 6th place in Malaysia. So it's looking bad for Mika Häkkinen. Ron Dennis, of course, the team boss at McLaren, has consistently said there are no team orders at McLaren, and there aren't going to be until it is mathematically impossible for one of our drivers to win the championship. Then he will defer to the other. Well, David Coulthard is a long way ahead of Häkkinen. It looks as though that might start to happen, or have to think of happening. But anyway, James Allen has news.
Yeah, Murray, we heard Mika there saying it's an unusual problem that he had with the steering. But what's extremely unusual is that Olivier Panis has retired with the same thing. Now, I don't know if it's something to do with these tyres that we've got this year or what's going on, but both Olivier Panis and Mika Häkkinen had weird steering problems that have put them out of the race very early on.
Well, Michelin were looking much better here than they have in most of the races in the past, and that's a comment and not a criticism, because of course they won at the Imola at the San Marino Grand Prix with Ralf Schumacher. David Coulthard still tucked up behind Bernaldi as we look back down the track to see the next one. Now, meantime, Heinz-Harald Frentzen has got the message. We haven't heard much about him. He's in 9th position behind Jean Alesi. He's just made the fastest lap of the race. He's going very quickly indeed in the Jordan Honda. But Schumacher still leads. In fact, he's extending his lead consistently over Rubens Barrichello. It's now 13 seconds, and Ralf Schumacher is lapping quicker than the second Ferrari. He's closed up a bit to within 12 seconds of Rubens Barrichello's second. Eddie Irvine still 4th. Jarno Trulli in the Jordan Honda 5th, and Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR Honda 6th. The battle continues between BAR and Jordan as poor David Coulthard continues to try.
Yeah. He really, I think he's missed his best shot when Schumacher came up. He'll have to try and make better use of Barrichello, who'll be homing in on them next. What is that all about with Frentzen? He's down in 9th place. Yeah. He's just from nowhere pulled a lap out of the bag that's quicker than the leader, Michael Schumacher. Eddie Jordan will be going mad when he sees that. Why? Why that lap? Why didn't you do it before? What are you doing cruising around? If the car's that fast, what on earth? He's just done another 21.5 on that lap as well. So just bizarre. His brain clearly not in gear through the early part of the Grand Prix.
Gaining on Jean Alesi at the rate of about 0.4 of a second. You may see the Prost in front of you. I was saying that the Prost hadn't been going as well, but they have this new aerodynamic packaging, and actually Jean Alesi is running in 8th position at the present moment. The highest he's finished this season is 8th position at Brazil, and there's still going to be some retirements in this race. We're not even at half distance yet. We're on lap 30 out of 78. We've got another 9 laps before we've reached the 50% mark. As we look down, and Frentzen being, Trulli in 5th place, being pursued by Villeneuve, and Fisichella is in 6th position. Now, another thing in this race and this season is the fact that Fisichella and Button are together in the Benetton team. A lot of people, and I think I was actually one of them, were expecting Jenson Button to show Fisichella the way this season. That hasn't happened at all. And Giancarlo Fisichella, in a car which certainly hasn't got the performance of a lot of the others in front, has done a terrific job this season. He's refused to admit that things can't go well. He got a point in Brazil. He's finished in a lot of races, but now look at him. The young Italian is in 7th position. This is a man, of course, who has led a Grand Prix. He led the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim when he was with the Jordan team, Giancarlo Fisichella. and that was in 1997. As we come back again to the... Oh, no, we don't. We come back to Ralf Schumacher, third position. We haven't seen much of the Williams BMW. This is the San Marino Grand Prix winner, the highest Michelin-tired competitor in the Monaco Grand Prix, and he is 25 seconds behind Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, Fisichella third here, of course, last year, Murray. He does tend to be a Monaco specialist as well. Giancarlo always gone very well around here, and up there in 7th place at the moment, as you say, and keeping Villeneuve very much in his sights.
Oh, who's that? That's a Jordan. That's a Jordan. Now, let's have a look at it.
That's Trulli,
out he leaps, and it's Jarno Trulli. Out go the fire extinguishers. Jarno Trulli, and he was the highest Jordan. He was in 7th position, just off the leaderboard. Now, here's a replay.
Yeah, it's an oil fire, so a piston ring or something like that, or an oil line blown off. Probably, I would suspect more likely an oil line or something off under the engine cover there, catching fire on the exhaust pipes. So quite clearly then, Trulli out of the race.
And he had the old rocket-propelled thighs there, straight out of the cockpit. And who can blame him? He will have seen that great gout of flame in his mirrors. Back again to a continuation point in the Monaco Grand Prix. No laughing matter for David Coulthard. He will be grimly determined and utterly, utterly frustrated as they come out of the Rascasse corner up into what is laughingly called the finishing straight here, but which is actually a long, long, shallow curve. And this is Heinz-Harald Frentzen seeing what happened to his teammate Jarno Trulli. I don't know whether he'll have time to realise that it was a Jordan, his teammate, hidden in that fire extinguisher foam and cloud. So, Ferrari leads, Ferrari second, Williams BMW third, and David Coulthard slows right down and lets Rubens Barrichello past.
I think Coulthard's given up on the idea of any points today because he's being overly nice to the leaders. I mean, I respect that because he knows what it's like to be leading a Grand Prix and then, or up the sharp end of a Grand Prix and being slowed down by back markers, but he really is being... But, you know, it does say on the computer screen the blue flags are waving for him. If you pass 3 of them, you get a stop-and-go penalty. So he knows he has to be courteous. I think he's probably being a touch more courteous than he really needs to be.
Well, you said, Martin, that David Coulthard's next opportunity to attack Bernoldi, hopefully successfully from his point of view, would be when Rubens Barrichello came up to lap him. He let Barrichello through, he dropped back. Bernoldi is still ahead. Here's a replay.
Yeah, you see, he needs to let the next one ease his way through before and just sort of tuck him behind him and then pick up the pieces, because Bernoldi's being quite kind too. And that's DC's best opportunity. Who's next down there? Ralf Schumacher, but some 11 seconds away. But this pair are lapping 3 to 4 seconds a lap slow sometimes, so Ralf will be here anytime soon.
And what, of course, David Coulthard is doing now is pursuing the adage, never, never give up, as we look at Eddie Irvine alone on the track. 5 seconds behind Ralf Schumacher, 9 seconds ahead of Jacques Villeneuve, and maintaining that 4th position and 3 possible World Championship points.
Yeah, and you saw Ralf just coming in to the Lowe's hairpin as this pair were disappearing out. So Ralf Schumacher then homing in to lap them too. Just have him off, David. I want to see these guys come through the field. We want to see some action. We don't want to see just blocking and people going slowly at the back of the field.
Well, meantime, here are the top 10. You know that Schumacher's leading, you know that Barrichello is second, so that's first for Ferrari, second Ferrari. Gap, 17 seconds. Ralf Schumacher is closing up a bit on Rubens Barrichello. He's actually taken a second out of his lead. He's now in 9th place. And one of the Williams teams said to me before the race began, the hotter it is here, the better our Michelin tyres are going to like it. It's 38 degrees here. Don't know what it is in England and the other countries we're talking to, but we're leaving Monaco for a break. We'll be back, of course.
Okay, continue for now, do one more lap, see what happens.
Just about half distance of the 78 lap Monaco Grand Prix, and Giancarlo Fisichella has retained his 6th place in the Benetton. There you see, this is a replay of him running wide at Saint-Devote. He hits the barrier first of all with the left, and then the rear, and then the left front.
Yeah, and he does survive that little skirmish because he went in nice and square on into the tyres, and the front end touching was not too bad either, and again quite square. So Fisichella kept the engine running, the anti-stall working nicely for him, and survived for another day in 6th place. And Coulthard then still steering at the back of that Arrows as Ralf Schumacher, 3rd place man, comes through to lap him. Meanwhile, Villeneuve on the move now in 5th place with a new fastest lap, and once again David being extremely courteous.
Yeah, David is being hyper polite. It's almost as though, I mean, this is a ludicrous statement I'm about to make. It's almost as though he's sort of closing up to Bernaldi and then dropping back a bit to have the pleasure of recatching him.
Yeah, hang on a minute though. Actually, this time around, now he is tucked up the rear wing of the Williams, and he might just get his chance this time around. I hope they hone back in on that, the TV directors here. He managed to tuck straight back in behind Ralf, and Ralf was a little bit too far away to immediately be wanting to pass Bernaldi, so maybe this time around it'll work out.
Lap 38, race order, Ferrari, Schumacher, Barrichello, gap 14 seconds, Williams, BMW 3rd, and there are Bernaldi and Coulthard, and Schumacher is pulling away from both of them, so David's missed his opportunity, unless he can get it here at Saint-Devote, which I very much doubt. Indeed, he does not do so, because Bernaldi again tucks in tight. Coulthard has got the power, and there is Schumacher at the swimming pool section, lapping Bernaldi, who immediately moves back ahead and in front of David Coulthard's McLaren. Half-distance lap we're on now.
Yeah, if I know David, I don't think he's got much interest at the moment. He's certainly not attacking. We've seen him go around the inside-outside of Michael Schumacher, often as he pleases, but today I think whatever happened on the start line has pretty much put him in the wrong frame of mind.
Any dialogue between him and the pit lane, do you think?
No, I mean, there's nothing they can do. They can't go down to Arrows and say, let our man through, because they're racing for position. And of course, they wouldn't dream of doing that. But no, I think he's out there on his own. He's still probably, I don't know, 20 laps away from his stop. So we're not even half distance in the race yet. But he needed to be moving earlier if he wanted a chance of some points. Now, James Allen's in the pits.
Yeah, I'm standing behind them at McLaren timing wall, and they've been thinking exactly the same way as you guys have been thinking. If he can tuck himself up behind the leaders as they come through to pass, maybe he can dive through on the inside of Bernaldi. And every time he's failed to do that, they've punched the desk. There's very little dialogue actually going on generally. Shoulders are down a little bit on this timing wall, as you can imagine. There's very little they can do. It's enormously. I can feel their frustration. It's very intense.
New lap record for Michael Schumacher, who's just demonstrating how much he's in charge of this race. Previously it was Mika Häkkinen in the year 2000. 1 minute 21.571, and that's a speed of over 92 miles an hour. Michael Schumacher has just gone round a second quicker than that, almost 120.770, and so they are lapping at well over 93, 94 miles an hour. Just think about that. Very few of us do 93 or 94 miles an hour during the course of a year's motoring. Here they are averaging it around this 2.1 mile lap with all its corners, twists, turns and gradients.
Now Schumacher, now Coulthard rather, is tucked up behind Irvine. 4th place man's lapped him. Can he use Irvine to get past the Arrows? So we'll have to wait and see. Pit stop getting ready then for Benetton. We know both Benettons are in the race, of course. Button in 10th and Fisichella in 6th, so we don't know which one's coming in first.
Well, I I said David Coulthard must never ever give up, and he won't do so. He may be in 13th place, but if he can just get past some more people and get up into 6th position, that will give him 1 World Championship point. A World Championship has been won in the past by half a point. 1984, when Niki Lauda beat Alain Prost by just half a point, because paradoxically, Prost in winning the Monaco Grand Prix here in 1984, and look how close David Coulthard is now. Prost in winning the Monaco Grand Prix here, when it was cut short because of the weather, which was appalling, only got half a World Championship point, and that was what decided that year's championship. So if David Coulthard could get just 1 point, it would be some consolation to him. Not much compared with the 10 that he might have got had he got away in pole position into Saint-Devote, the first corner of the 17-corner Monaco Grand Prix circuit first. It wasn't to be, though. Out of the tunnel for the 41st time. Remember, we haven't had any leaders come in for their pit stops yet. Michael Schumacher, I would expect to come in, I don't know what fuel load he's got, but it's not going to be until after lap 50. And I would imagine that Schumacher has probably been driving a pretty conservative race by his standards. Even though he's put up the fastest lap of the race, he's been having an iron grip on it the whole time, and he may therefore be coming in for fuel and tyres later than he had originally planned. Ross Brawn, the Ferrari tactician and technical director of the Maranello concern, will be sitting on the pit lane gantry watching everything like a hawk, with John Todt, the Ferrari team manager, alongside him. They will be planning and watching. That is Jean Alesi going through, pursued by Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Maybe that's what's waking Heinz-Harald Frentzen up, Martin. He's now in 8th place. You can see how close he is to Jean Alesi's Ferrari-powered Prost.
Yeah, but he's going second a lap slower now, despite a lower fuel load than he did when he set that at that time, a new lap record some 8 or 9 laps ago. But Alesi then having a very good race up there in 7th. So we've got some unusual players. We haven't seen much of them. Irvine in 4th, Alesi up in 7th. That's very nice to see.
So how are the teams doing? Ferrari doing very well, thank you, 1st and 2nd. McLaren doing terribly. Hakkinen out of the race, and David Coulthard down in 13th place. 7 positions off the points. Williams, well, reasonable. Ralf Schumacher is in a fine 3rd place. Montoya is out of the race. Jaguar, very good indeed, because they've yet to score World Championship points. Looks as though they could do so in this race if Eddie Irvine repeats his success of last year in finishing 4th. Martin?
Yeah, we're just going to take you through that onboard stuff, Murray, but hey, we're back on board again. So you lump the curve there, you have to hook up with that curve in the second part of the swimming pool. You brake much earlier for Raskas, you just cruise in there really. If you brake late and downshift, you'll lose the back of the car. It's so easy just to turn in a fraction and slap the barriers through these corners. And it almost catches you by surprise. You don't, because the rear of the car is wider than the front. As you're turning through there, often you just whack them as you go through. You thought you were clear, and it just pushes the car around or rips the suspension off.
Vassenet coming up, 85 miles an hour, 3rd gear into Casino Square, with the casino itself on the right, as Frentzen chases Alesi down the hill towards the Mirabeau turn, 2nd gear, 30 miles an hour, continuing down to the slowest corner on the track, the grand hairpin, 20 miles an hour, into the double right-hander, about 50 miles an hour at each of them on the apex. The Portier is where Ayrton Senna retired when he thumped the barrier in 1988 and went off to his apartment nearby in a huff, into the tunnel and out of it at 180 miles an hour.
And that's really how dark it looks when you're in the car, believe me, it is amazing. But Michael Schumacher's just done a new lap record again. He's playing around at the front, 18.3 second lead, and just whenever he fancies it, when he's getting bored, he pops in a supersonic lap. So Michael well in control.
Yeah, let's just remind ourselves what he's done this year. Victory in Australia, victory in Malaysia, 2nd place in Brazil. He wasn't in the points, of course, at the San Marino Grand Prix, but then he came back and won the Spanish Grand Prix. 2nd in Australia after having been beautifully beaten by David Coulthard. And David Coulthard, I said earlier on, the only man at the beginning of this race who had scored points in every Grand Prix of 2001 is going to be struggling to maintain that record. As into the pits comes Jos Verstappen in the Arrows from 9th position.
So the first scheduled stop of the afternoon, then I would imagine this one is, Murray, and looks like Arrows are going for a two-stopper or certainly a very long second stint. Let's have a look and see how long they fuel for, and it's
bit of a discussion going on there. I thought this might be happening, Martin, because he was so much conspicuously faster in the warm-up in comparison with his race place. I mean, he started 19th on the grid and he was 8th in the warm-up. But whatever, there's a problem. Not a problem for Benoldi as far as keeping Coulthard back, because yet again, and this is the 44th lap out of 78, and still David Coulthard, despite his horsepower advantage, despite his superior experience, despite, frankly, his superior ability, can do nothing about Benoldi, and James Allen can tell us something.
Well, there's a glimmer of hope for him, though, Murray, because we know that the Arrows has the smallest fuel tank in Formula One, and this is about as far as I reckon as they can actually go in this race. So Benoldi will be coming in very shortly, I'm sure, for fuel, and that will allow Coulthard finally to pass him.
James, Fisichella then has gone off for a second time in Sandebot and clearly will not be getting away with it this time. Serious amount of toe out on that front left. Look there, Murray, and Fisichella finally outbraking himself into Sandebot, and this time connecting too hard with that barrier.
Yes, taking that into your friendly garage and saying, can you correct the steering for me, would be a major problem. Fisichella deserved better than that. He'd already done it once. He'd probably weakened the suspension. He's lost it again at exactly the same place.
Interestingly, Verstappen had just left the pit, so whether Fisichella was just wrong-footed by the Arrows building up the speed, or whether he just lost his concentration or whatever, I don't know, but he actually lost the back end on the way into Sandebot, unusually again, and then finally slapped it with the front.
Well, I can tell you that the Arrows team are now getting ready to bring Enrique Benoldi, who has been holding David Coulthard up for most of the race, into the pits for his scheduled pit stop. We've just seen Verstappen come in. You can see that stuff still fluttering from the left auxiliary wheel, and here is Benoldi. So at last David Coulthard has got a clear track, so he's ahead of Verstappen. His next target has got to be Fernando Alonso. He's lapping on the previous lap some 7/10 of a second faster, but then he was behind Benoldi, so now he will really be able to get cracking.
Despite Benoldi having a yellow lollipop right in his field of vision, he was still trying to drive away with the fuel rig still very much connected, so Benoldi a touch over-eager there.
So Ferrari, who, I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again, Ferrari, who were in the wilderness for a long time and did so much under the leadership of Luca Di Montezemolo to regain their previous glory in Grand Prix racing, the sort of glory that they'd had with Alberto Ascari, with Juan Manuel Fangio, with double Ferrari world champion Niki Lauda and others. But it's a slow, long and painful job to rebuild a Grand Prix team, as Jaguar are discovering to their cost. And Ferrari had, first of all, to recruit Michael Schumacher and Ross Brawn as their technical director, Rory Byrne as their designer and aerodynamics chief, and John Todt as team manager. And then they all had to learn to work together. And let me not forget Piero Martinelli, their engine man. It is a great quartet at the top of Ferrari, and they're getting their reward now. Constructors' Championship in the year 1999 and 2000. The Drivers' Championship for Michael Schumacher last year, and the previous gap had gone right back to Jody Scheckter in 1979. And now Michael Schumacher, who started this race 4 points ahead of David Coulthard in the drivers' contest, if he finishes where he is now, and he's on lap 47 out of 78, so there's 31 laps to go, and Michael Schumacher has failed to finish in races much closer to the finish than he is now. But assuming he stays where he is now, of course he's going to increase his championship lead over David Coulthard by 10 points, because flying as David Coulthard may be, he's going to have to work very hard to get up into the points. He's 10th at the moment. As you look at Eddie Irvine, still 4th. Schumacher is 7 seconds ahead of him, Ralf Schumacher, and Jacques Villeneuve is 6 seconds behind him.
New lap record for David Coulthard then, a 1:20.2, and it just shows you the speed he had in the car this afternoon. That is some 4.5 seconds faster than he was able to lap, tucked up behind the arrows, and now immediately homing in on 9th place man Fernando Alonso. But he is some half a minute behind Jenson Button, who's 8th.
And just remember what a fantastic race David Coulthard drove in Brazil to win it, his first victory of this year. And then he went on to win again in Austria. David has won a lot of races in the past. He's had a lot of pole positions in the past. But somehow, it's going to be a surprising thing for you to hear from me, but somehow he didn't quite seem to have it all together the way that he has this year. There has been some sort of transformation, and I think it's a mental thing, a psychological thing, an attitudinal thing. Maybe David's got more belief in himself this year than he had last year, but whatever, that belief is going to have to pay off now as into the pits comes the Minardi. Past goes Jacques Villeneuve in 5th position, and David Coulthard has just done the fastest first sector that anybody has done. He's showing now what he could have done if only he had been able to get away first from pole position.
Yes, and he's passed Alonso in that last lap somewhere. Amazingly, he was some 8 seconds faster than Alonso on the last lap. So Alonso, I think, getting out of the way because he was being lapped by Villeneuve, and Coulthard just searing straight through, and already on a 20.6 second first sector DC now on the charge we all wanted to see much earlier in this race.
Yeah, he's been lapped, of course, which means to say, surprise, surprise, he will have to do 1 lap less than the people ahead of him in the points, because Michael Schumacher is on his 49th lap now, and it's conceivable that David Coulthard will finish this race. It's not inconceivable that he's going to finish it in the points, because his next target is Jenson Button, and David Coulthard's last lap was 5 seconds faster than that of Jenson Button. So it's not going to take him all that long to reel in the Benetton.
Now you see, Coulthard had to let Villeneuve through with the blue flags because he was tucked up behind Bernoulli. Now he's catching Villeneuve again at some 1.5 to 2 seconds per lap. So Jacques, of course, won't get the blue flag. He's a lap ahead of David. So Coulthard's got a whole different set of problems now of trying to pass cars that are a lap ahead of him.
Lap 49, race order, Schumacher, Barrichello, gap 15.6 seconds. Ralf Schumacher's making no impression on Barrichello, let alone his brother Michael, but he's still in 3rd position, potential podium place, as in comes Fernando Alonso, that we saw pull over and the exit to Rascasse and let David Coulthard through, in for his European Minardi pit stop, boils up the tyres, sprints out, very slow speed limit here. That's Giancarlo Fisichella, the Benetton driver, out of the race, and Jenson Button, his teammate, is in 8th position. Now, Eddie Irvine is still 4th, Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR is still 5th, and Irvine is actually lapping faster than the BAR. Jean Alesi is in the points, so potentially, with things as they are now, we can envisage a situation where Jaguar get their first World Championship points this season, and Prost get their first World Championship points, or a point this season, with Alesi in 6th position. And in both cases, it will have been richly deserved. They all deserve to do well, and Prost and Jaguar have been trying very, very hard to correct the performance deficiency that they've had.
Another new lap record, this time from Michael Schumacher, 1:20.193. And as I said, he's playing around in the front there, just amusing himself. He got a 16.7 second lead, so Barrichello not letting him disappear completely. And Barrichello a further 15 seconds ahead of Ralf Schumacher, the 3rd place man. Really not much of a scrap going on until you get down to 6th, Alesi, and 7th, just 1 second behind, is Heinz-Harald Frentzen.
Yeah, this race actually, Martin, does put me in mind of 1988. Ayrton Senna's first season with the McLaren Honda team, his bitterness between himself and Alain Prost, his teammate, yet to develop. But Senna, who's won more Monaco Grand Prix than anybody, he's won 6 of them, was leading that race, but Prost kept up the pressure and he rattled Senna, who lost concentration because he had such a lead. Going into the tunnel, he crashed and he was out of the event. I can't see that happening to Michael Schumacher, though.
You never know. And Michael then now in the 1 minute 19s, stunning, 1 minute 19.770. So he's decided that it's time he put on a bit of a show. We've hardly seen him in the race, have we?
No, and that 1 minute 19.7 is 8. Hello, that's the other Jordan. That is Heinz-Harald Frentzen, 7th position out of the race. That moves Button up to 7th, and significantly it moves David Coulthard up to 8th. That means to say that David is in with a shout of getting a World Championship point, at least one.
I wonder, and apparently Villeneuve's let Coulthard through. They're good mates, and that's a good turn from him. I wonder if Frentzen was having a go at Alesi. He was just a second behind, remember, or if Frentzen's dropped it in the tunnel. You can still end up all the way down there if you get out of shape in the tunnel and slap the wall. Hopefully we'll see a replay of that. That is Barrichello then, your second place man. So Coulthard suddenly, as you say, Murray, does have a bit of a shot at a few points.
Yep, 13 left out of the 22 starters. Orders in order of retirement. Nick Heidfeld, Sauber. Montoya, Williams, Panis, BAR. Mika Hakkinen, McLaren. De La Rosa, Jaguar. Bertie, Prost, Jarno Trulli, Jordan. Fisichella in the Benetton. Kimi Räikkönen is actually still running 13th, because we have just seen Heinz-Harald Frentzen out of 7th place, as a result of which the Finnish Sauber driver moves up a place. He's last, he's 13th, but he's still running, and the other 12 are lap 52, 26 laps to go of this 2.1 mile race. Schumacher, Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher, the first 3, James Allen.
Well, it looks like it might have worked out a little bit for Coulthard. He's not had an awful lot of luck so far this afternoon, but Jenson Button just made his pit stop, and I do believe that David Coulthard is now up into 7th place, just a minute off the points, and the Lacey now pouring into the pit lane just behind me. He'll be back out in front of David Coulthard, but it's game on. I reckon Coulthard can run about another 4 or 5 laps, and we're expecting the Ferraris in around about the same sort of time.
Yeah, Schumacher and Barrichello ought to be reliable. You're watching Jean Alesi now, quite a calm and deliberate pit stop.
Left rear of Alesi's Michelin, they're absolutely bald as a coupe. The one that came off, no grooves left on it whatsoever. That is, I don't think they'll have any regulation problems on that. There's been an understanding on that situation, so Alesi using his tyres to the absolute full.
And
we're about to see Frentzen have a shunt. He's lost it in the tunnel, hasn't he? Because he has his accident before he gets to the chicane. So
replay coming up. That was a Lacey going through.
He's down the bottom of the hill at Murray, so in the cloud of dust. So still didn't really see quite how and where he hit the barrier first, but I suspect he dropped it in the tunnel.
Well, if Alesi finishes in the points, it will be enormous encouragement for Prost. They've had a very torrid time since the 4 times world champion took over leadership of what was the Ligier team. This year he's got Ferrari engines after having seasons with the unsuccessful Peugeot engine, which ironically is doing much better with arrows now in the form of Asia Tech engine. It's been bought by a Japanese consortium from Peugeot, and so now the Prost, which you are seeing being caught by Rubens Barrichello to lap Jean Alesi, has a Ferrari engine, although it's called an Acer after the sponsor. And Alain Prost has got a fine team of people together. Alesi moves over and lets Rubens Barrichello lap him. So the first 2 have now lapped everybody up to 5th place, the 5th place being Jacques Villeneuve. And the men that Alain Prost have recruited are Joan Villadel-Prat to be the team leader, Henry Durand from McLaren to be the technical director, John Walton to be the race director, and it is starting slowly to pay off.
Tell you what, these drivers are getting murdered on the North Circular around London. They're so polite. I mean, Alesi pulled right off onto the dirty part of the track at Rascasse, and that'll take him 2 laps to clean his tyres up. He lost a bundle of time letting Barrichello through. Once again, seriously polite, but why didn't you just let them blend past you on the pit straight?
Indeed, so now you are seeing the sole Sauber in the race, that of Kimi Räikkönen that we saw have a bit of a coming together with the barrier earlier on. He's right up behind Enrique Benoldi, and Benoldi is in 11th place, but Kimi Raikkonen, of course, is several laps down. Benoldi has been lapped twice. Kimi Raikkonen has been lapped 5 times, but he's still running in 14th and last position. Through goes Michael Schumacher. He's on his 55th lap now. What he must be saying to himself, of course, is keep it smooth, keep away from the barriers, be careful when you're passing people so that there's no possibility of being taken off. Remember when Jos Verstappen this year took out Juan Pablo Montoya as the Colombian in the Williams was coming through to lap him, and potentially Montoya lost a victory in Brazil.
Ferrari mechanics in the pit lane then, so we'll wait and see which one's coming in this time around. But you know, when Michael beat me here in '94, he hit a patch of oil just near the end and had a little rub with the barrier at Saint-Devote and got away with it. And you know, it's never over until it's over, and Mika Hakkinen can confirm that, of course, after his Spanish Grand Prix debacle. That piece of ribbon or whatever it is that's hanging on the back of Michael's car has been there virtually since the first lap.
Yeah, someone will probably sell it after the race. This is the piece of ribbon that you saw hanging from the wing of Michael Schumacher's victorious Monaco Grand Prix Ferrari, if he was victorious, because we're on lap 55 now, 23 laps to go. In comes Michael Schumacher. Barrichello will take the lead, 18 seconds behind him in terms of track position, but then he will have to come in. There you go, there you see Rubens Barrichello in the background as Michael Schumacher goes up to exit the pit lane. Rubens Barrichello goes through to start another lap in the lead now. So Ferrari still leads, Ferrari still second, but the position's reversed. It's Rubino from Sao Paulo, Brazil, leading Michael Schumacher from Kerpen in Germany, still on 16 World Championship points for the Constructors' Contest, massively to extend their lead over McLaren, who are still not in the points but not far off it. David Coulthard is some 28 seconds behind Jean Alesi, who's been into the pits, so there may be a bit of adjustment there when we've got more updated information. But David lapping extremely quickly, knowing that there is a potential reward for him after all the misery that he's already suffered in this race, not being able to get away, having to start last, having to be bottled up behind Benoldi. Look at the tyre wear there. Michelin said when they were coming back to Formula One, they might be protesting if tyres were no longer grooved. All the tyres have 4 grooves in them to reduce the amount of rubber on the track and thereby reduce the amount of grip in order to slow the cars down. The governing body is always worried that Grand Prix cars will be too fast for the circuits, and if those tyres become slicks, there's a danger that they'll go even quicker. But that is not happening. Through goes new race leader Rubens Barrichello. Michael Schumacher will be the next man through because he exited the pit lane just after his teammate had gone through. But Rubino, who won the German Grand Prix brilliantly last year at Hockenheim from 18th on the grid, a superlative performance, can say that he has led at Monaco. How long it's going to be before he has to come in remains to be seen. There's not going to be very much difference between the time that Barrichello stayed out and the time that Schumacher stayed out.
Yes, Coulthard's charge. That's Villeneuve pitting then for a scheduled stop, I would imagine. Coulthard's charge has been halted slightly by Eddie Irvine. Of course, Irvine lapped Coulthard earlier in the race. Now Coulthard's clear of Benoldi. As I've said before, he's now charging and got a different problem of trying to pass people who are 1 lap ahead of him. And that is...
Well, that's the Minardi. So that's Fernando Alonso. Rotten luck for Paul Stoddart and his team. Here's a replay of what happens as Alonso, knowing that the game is up, pulls off the circuit to park the Minardi. His teammate Tasso Marquez is 3 laps down, but he is still running. 19 years old, incidentally, Alonso. a very proud Spaniard. You saw the Spanish colours on his helmet there. As we now look at Ralf Schumacher in third position, and Eddie Irvine is actually catching the Williams. I don't know what's happened. Neither of them have been in for a pit stop, but Eddie has closed the gap down to 3.5 seconds. It's not inconceivable, although there's some way to go, that the Jaguar could not only be in the points, but on the podium. That would be a fantastic encouragement.
There's Ralph then, and then Eddie Irvine just behind him, and the recovering Coulthard also then behind. There they go, all three of them coming up the hill then. So third place man, Ralf Schumacher, Eddie Irvine fourth, Coulthard now a lap down in 7th position. Irvine on a charge, the gap down to just 2.8 seconds, Murray.
Yeah, and David Coulthard lapping 1.8 seconds faster than Jean Alesi ahead of him. There's a big gap between them, but things are starting to get dramatic and interesting indeed. There is Eddie Irvine behind him, David Coulthard. And Jacques Villeneuve has left the pits. He's been in for that pit stop. Into the tunnel they go.
Ralph's slow. Ralph's definitely losing some time on his pace earlier on. Look, that gap there was 2.8 at the pit straight last time around. Look at it now. It's just a few tenths.
Eddie Irvine said yesterday, I love this place. I love Monaco. It suits my kind of driving. And of course he's done extremely well here in the past. Third in 1998, second in 99, fourth for Jaguar last year. He's fourth at the moment. He could be third because he's right up and he's passed. He's passed. Eddie Irvine is in a podium position for Jaguar. Oh, I know the whole of Britain will be having their fingers crossed as in comes Ralf Schumacher, clearly with a problem. But is it a terminal problem?
I wonder if he's got some kind of...
shaking his head.
Wonder if he's... I mean, he's a long ways, 58, left 59. James, what can you tell us? Do you think it's fuel?
Yeah, as he came past me, it was definitely the engine was cutting out and he was punching the steering wheel as if that would help. I think they call it percussive maintenance. But anyway, the rear tyres came off. They were completely slick, as were the other ones you noticed earlier on, Martin. But definitely some form of engine problem. Could have been lacking fuel, but it sounded a bit more... they're trying to get it started again now. The rear wheels are spinning. It sounds unhealthy, but he may get going. I don't know.
Well, anyway, Ralf Schumacher retires from the Monaco Grand Prix. It is his 5th retirement in 7 races, and Montoya, of course, was long since out, so not a race that Williams will want to remember. And funnily enough, they've only won here twice. Keke Rosberg won 1 year. And Williams have always had a bad time at Monaco by their very high standards. Remember when Nigel Mansell retired, Damon Hill, but now it's Michael Schumacher out on his own not out on his own, behind Rubens Barrichello still, who leads the race. The gap between them 13 seconds, but Michael Schumacher has stopped. Rubens Barrichello has not stopped. Eddie Irvine in a podium position for Jaguar, third, ahead of Villeneuve, Alesi, and now David Coulthard is in the points.
Yeah, Irvine doing a great job. Barrichello doing a tidy job too to extend that lead. Michael now, of course, with more fuel on board at this stage of the race, having made his stop. But I think Rubens can go far enough, fast enough to make a complete pit stop advantage on Michael. So Michael still has the race under control, but Rubens doing a sterling job in this few laps of the race.
Yeah, so when Barrichello comes in, probably about 7 or 8 seconds for him to make his stop. Here he goes. Now, the seconds ticking away. Look at the background, if the producer lets us, as the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher will appear and go through to take the lead. And it was just under 7 seconds. Barrichello goes through, and Michael Schumacher has not yet passed me. Now he does so, and just takes the lead as Barrichello exits the pit lane. The order has been restored to what it was before. Michael Schumacher on lap 61 out of 78 retakes the lead in the Monaco Grand Prix, with Rubens Barrichello in second place, some 40 seconds ahead of Eddie Irvine's Jaguar, who is now in the pits. Now the gap between Irvine and Villeneuve was 33 seconds, so Louise.
Heinz-Harald Frentzen has made his way back into the paddock now. Heinz-Harald, we didn't actually see clearly what happened to you, so can you tell us?
I don't know what happened exactly, but from the apex onwards, I understeered off in a corner in the tunnel with right-hander, which usually flat without a problem.
Don't know what I'd have, I slide off.
Must have been a nasty moment because that's a very high-speed part of the track.
Yeah, I felt a little bit uncomfortable in this moment, I have to say. I have to admit, but banged my head pretty hard there. But it's very difficult to understand right now unless we look at the data of the car, what happened.
Thanks very much.
Eddie Irvine has rejoined. That's just a replay of the Minardi of yes, Marquez. They're just letting the leaders through. So Eddie Irvine has had a successful pit stop and returns to 3rd place in the race. We'll be back shortly.
Lap 63 at Monaco, 15 to go. What are the points positions? Well, it is looking, subject to reliability, like being a crushing 1-2 for Ferrari. As you watch the flying David Coulthard showing us what he could have done if only he had got away well at the start. Ferrari 1st and 2nd, and Eddie Irvine is still in that superb 3rd position for Jaguar. As I said before, Eddie Irvine with Ferrari and with Jaguar has had 2nd, 3rd and 4th places at Monaco, and it looks as though with luck and good fortune he's going to be able to make another 3rd place. Jacques Villeneuve 4th for BAR to give them points. Jean Alesi 5th for Prost, and David Coulthard in 6th position, potentially with a World Championship point. He's lapping 2.5 seconds faster than Alesi, but he's going to need at least 6 or 7 laps to catch the Prost.
Yeah, sorry to spoil that story though, Murray, but Alesi's already made his pit stop, so Coulthard amazingly on lap 64 still hasn't had to pit, so he was carrying a lot of fuel, and once again it confirms that McLaren have a bigger fuel tank than Ferrari, and that'll pay dividends a little bit later on in the season at Monza and Hockenheim and places like that. But Coulthard's major headache really more is Jenson Button, because Button's behind him 18 odd seconds, but he has already stopped, so Coulthard does have a chance of a point, but I think any more than a point will rely on others falling off or breaking down.
Yeah, as ever with Monaco, it's going to be a case of who finishes, and we're not going to know that for another 14 laps, including the one they're on. 14 2.1 mile laps as Kimi Raikkonen getting experience all the way in the Sauber. He is last, and there's 10 people left. He's been lapped 5 times, Kimi Raikkonen, of this 2.1 mile circuit. So 10.5 miles ahead of him is Michael Schumacher leading the race, and in walks Tarso Marquez, the Brazilian Minardi driver, who's already had 3 failures to finish this season. He drove in champ car races in America last year and the year before. He had driven as a protege of Crichton Browns in Formula One before, but he hasn't shown the promise this year that we thought he had. Kimi Raikkonen rounds the Rascasse. Now the gap between Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello, and it'll stay that way to the end of the race, provided that they both finish it, and I'm very careful about that caveat, is just about 10 seconds. Eddie Irvine is actually catching Rubens Barrichello in front of him, but there's a 40-second gap between the two of them. And if Irvine can finish in 3rd position, the flags will really be waving at Coventry and everywhere else where Jaguar are powerful.
And still Coulthard doesn't have to come in the pit, so that's 65 laps, at least 66 he will be able to complete, and I think now he will have the gap to Jenson Button that he needs to make that pit stop and retain his 6th place. It'll be reasonably close. Depends how much time he makes on this, and I don't know, who knows when his in-lap is. But Verstappen not threatening Button behind, and as I said, Coulthard can't catch a Lacey in front. But really, the crew are pretty well spread out. The teams and drivers well spread out. The only marginal scrap is Villeneuve, just 6.6 seconds behind Irvine in 3rd place.
But only lapping 0.2 of a second faster. Indeed, Eddie Irvine has just responded to the challenge by going 0.2 of a second faster again than Jacques Villeneuve. And he's made his fastest lap of the race to reduce the gap between himself and Rubens Barrichello to well under 40 seconds, and 38 seconds to be exact. Look at David Coulthard, revelling now, liberated psychologically as he flings the McLaren round the circuit. Flings it, but being very careful indeed not to fling it into anything. He's just done a 1:20.6 compared with Michael Schumacher 1:22.3.
And he'll be in this lap. We saw the mechanics in the pit, yes, in the pit lane. So James, take it over.
Well, at this late stage of the race, Martin, you need 22 seconds. It's how much you lose to get back out on the pit lane, and he was 23 seconds ahead of Jenson Button. If any crew can pull this off, it's the McLaren crew. A great stop, and is this going to get him a point?
And the amazing thing is, and there you see Button, David Coulthard is undoubtedly safe. Jenson Button is not going to be able to get through in the time that it takes Jenson Button to get round, and he's done so. So the thing that Martin was drawing our attention to has been safe. There is Button closing down on David Coulthard as the McLaren accelerates back again to race pace. But the problem which potentially faced David Coulthard has been avoided. It looks like he's going to get that one World Championship point, which seemed virtually impossible and so far off, and which he so richly deserves. This is lap 67 out of 78. Schumacher leads Barrichello by 8.8 seconds. The gap is coming down. Eddie Irvine is still 3rd and no longer catching Barrichello, who's putting on a bit of a charge. Jacques Villeneuve, however, is still continuing to catch Eddie Irvine, who is 3rd. Alesi is still 5th. Potential points for Prost. David Coulthard, will he get that 1 point?
So the scrap to watch, because I don't think Jenson's got the speed to come back at the McLaren now. So the only real sort of drama to watch, I think, unless these guys start whacking the barrier, that then is Raikkonen getting a bit out of shape in the last corner, but the traction control would scoop that up just as he most needed it, and he heads off into the pit straight one more time. But can Villeneuve catch Irvine for that final podium place? We'll be back shortly to find out.
to the closing laps of the 2001 Monaco Grand Prix as you look at Eddie Irvine's Jaguar, which is still in that superb, well-deserved third position, a potential podium place for the Irishman. David Coulthard is shattering the lap record as in sixth position he circulates this track faster and faster. He's just gone round in 1 minute 19.4, which is 2.1 seconds faster than the previous lap record held by Mika Hakkinen, and it was put up in last year. So that's how much quicker they are going this year. Rubens Barrichello is 8 seconds behind Michael Schumacher, who seems to me to be pacing himself calmly and in his experienced way to yet another victory. If it is, it will be his 48th Grand Prix in his 150th year, 150th Grand Prix. Eddie Irvine is 36 seconds behind Barrichello, lapping faster but not fast enough to catch him. Jacques Villeneuve is closing on the Jaguar.
Fifth place man and Lacey in the pits then for another stop, surprising so late in the race, but Lacey then, your current fifth place man, having to make a late stop.
Now, David Coulthard was 27 seconds behind Lacey. If he can get through before the Prost leaves the pits, it doesn't look to me as though he's going to. It means he could get 2 points instead of 1. Out goes Lacey, and Coulthard has passed me. He's ahead. He's ahead. David Coulthard is now on 2 points instead of 1. You may think that that's not all that exciting, but it really is as far as David Coulthard is concerned. He started in pole position. It was to start in pole position. He couldn't get away. He started last and he's fought his way up to 5th in the race. This is another barnstorming Scottish drive. Fabulous. But Jean Alesi is still potentially going to score Prost's first World Championship point this year.
That could be worth as much as $11 or $12 million to the team, Murray. Just gets them into the TV money for the following season. That will be a crucial point. And here's the moment when Coulthard takes 5th. Lacey coming out from that very late stop in the race. Coulthard then, will he slow down a bit now? He's got no chance of catching Villeneuve. Going to be best part of a minute behind. All of that time he lost, crucially, behind Bernoldi at the beginning of the race. Bernoldi just driving defensively, slowing them all down, and Bernoldi back down in 9th place now, lapping some 4 seconds a lap slower than Coulthard. What a shame Coulthard didn't manage to get past him. I guess my technique of having him off the road may have lost me a wheel or a nose, and at least David, with his patience, is now staring at 2 maybe very crucial World Championship points.
How are the runners and riders doing on lap 72 out of 78? Ferrari are doing famously, thank you very much, say the men from Maranello, because they are first and second with 6 laps to go at the end of this one. Schumacher leading Barrichello by 8 points. Jaguar, they must be having their fingers and everything else crossed, because Eddie Irvine is still in a potential 3rd podium place. His teammate Pedro de la Rosa has long since retired. Jacques Villeneuve is looking good for 3 World Championship points for the BAR team, and Villeneuve has already scored points this season, but his teammate Panis retired a long time ago. David Coulthard, of course, 2 points in the offing. Mika Hakkinen long since disappeared, and Jean Alesi looks as though he's going to get that 1 point for Prost, which Martin has told you is so vital to the team.
Jenson Button in 7th place, but going quite slowly now, so maybe Button's got a problem creeping in these late stages. Alesi hanging on to that 6th place then, Button not in any kind of position to challenge him, it seems.
And the remaining 3 are Jos Verstappen, so both the arrows are still running in the top 9, because Bernoldi, Verstappen's teammate, is in 9th place. Kimi Räikkönen 5 laps down is the last runner in 10th place, only 4 on the same lap.
Irvine's got a problem in the shape of Villeneuve, now just 3.7 seconds behind. We're just missing Villeneuve out of the picture each time as they cut away from Eddie Irvine, and the gap down to just 3 seconds. Now you'll see him. And so launching an attack then, but as you've said many times before, Murray, catching's one thing, passing is altogether another. But let's recap on quite a dramatic early stage of the race. David Coulthard stalling on the dummy grid for whatever reason, we don't know. Starting at the back, Michael Schumacher making a textbook start. No dramas at all in the first few corners. Heidfeld tripping over an arrows and hitting the wall halfway round that first lap, and the race very much settled into a pace. Montoya, the first to make a mistake, striking the barriers in the first part of the swimming pool, dropping out of what was then 5th place. Ralf Schumacher retiring later on with, we think, some kind of engine problem. Frentzen hitting the walls, hydraulics failure for Ralf, we're hearing. Frentzen hit the wall, Fisichella hit the wall, Jarno Trulli caught fire, and Mika Hakkinen with a car that was trying to turn right every time he hit the throttle pedal, just as he started to make a big charge on Michael Schumacher, who Hakkinen was currently lying second at that time, and just as we were shaping up for a very exciting challenge, unfortunately Mika Hakkinen's car failed him.
Well, keep your fingers crossed, everybody, especially Wolfgang Reitzler, who's probably watching this race, the boss of Jaguar. He's done so much to get the team up into Formula One, and he's seeing the potential now of his man, Eddie Irvine, getting the first podium for Jaguar ever. But not if Jacques Villeneuve can do anything about it, although Eddie Irvine has just responded with a lap 0.4 of a second faster than Jacques Villeneuve, which argues that he could be knowing exactly what the situation is. Michael Schumacher is going through to complete his lap now. That will take him into lap 74. 5 laps to go now for Michael Schumacher, with Rubens Barrichello 6.5 seconds behind him.
Yeah, we've hardly seen Michael all afternoon. We've barely said anything about him. Went off into the lead from what was then effectively pole position, and he's just been cruising around when he had to, put a couple of hot laps in, and that's about it. Hasn't made a mistake, hasn't really had to push hard. Really been a cruisy afternoon for Michael, and we're about to see, I suspect, a Ferrari formation finish.
Yeah, and it's the mark of a truly great driver if you can win at Monaco, as Senna did 6 times, as Graham Hill did 5 times, as Schumacher has already done 4 times. He was leading very convincingly last year when that cracked exhaust burnt through the carbon fibre suspension systems. And here is the battle for 3rd, Irvine, and 4th, the white BAR Honda of Jacques Villeneuve, and the gap is 3 seconds now. So Villeneuve is continuing to cut into that lead of Eddie Irvine's as the Irishman turns into the Mirabeau corner, goes down to the slowest corner on the course, the Grand Hotel corner, down to the Portier, and then through the tunnel again. Now, these two have not been lapped, so they will have to go the full race distance of 78 laps. Michael Schumacher will soon be starting. Indeed, he's on his 76th lap now. So laps 76, 77 and 78. There's going to be no doubt about the winner and second place, provided Schumacher and Barrichello stay where they are. But there could be a real doubt about who is going to be 3rd, the Jaguar of Eddie Irvine or the BAR Honda of Jacques Villeneuve, the 1997 world champion.
And Villeneuve's on a stonking lap. He's 0.7 of a second faster on this current lap than Eddie Irvine. You're watching 5th place man David Coulthard, who is a lap down, and 3 laps remain, as you can see. So Irvine over the line, and the gap will be down to 2.3 seconds now then. So just 2.3 seconds between Irvine 3rd, Villeneuve 4th.
Yeah, but if Eddie can just keep it up, he looks to me as though he's going to be all right. Villeneuve may close right up on him. But that Jaguar is then going to be 18 metres. Is the course width, is it? Well, if it is, that's how wide the Jaguar is going to be, because Eddie Irvine will just be able to plant it on the fastest racing line, keep it there, and say, OK, Jacques, the only way you're going to get past me is to push me off. And the French-Canadian is unlikely deliberately to do that. As Jenson Button drops down the hill past the Hotel Metropole in 7th position. He has been lapped. He is 27 seconds behind John Alesi. The positions look set, but in 1970, was it, Jacques Brabham in his Brabham came down to the last corner. It was the Gasworks corner, the Anthony Nogue corner then now, and he went off. He allowed himself to be distracted by Piers Courage. He went off, and Jochen Rindt came through and won the race brilliantly. So It's not over until it's over. But Michael Schumacher knows that as well as anybody as he goes into the tunnel for the 77th time. That is Prince Albert of Monaco. Here again, as he has been all through his life, to watch the Monaco Grand Prix, for which his father, His Serene Highness Prince Rainier, has done so much.
I think Eddie Irvine's done enough. He just put his fastest lap of the race in on a 20.6, 1 minute 20.6, and maintained the gap last time around. So Irvine has done enough, I think, to get that very, very well-deserved podium. And I, for one, would be seriously happy for the Jaguar team.
As we all will, and as Michael Schumacher exits the Rascasse into the Anthony Nogue corner to start his 78th and last lap, and David Coulthard just clips the edge of the road at the chicane, but he's perfectly all right there. Michael Schumacher, 1 lap to go.
Yeah, I tell you, just clip the edge of those curves. Remember, the car runs about ½ an inch high off the ground only, and you're sitting on the floor of it. I can tell you, it brings tears to your eyes, one of those things, and it trashes the underfloor. That's probably 20 grand's worth of carbon fibre just gone underneath that. It looked a pretty simple incident. Outbraked himself at the chicanes, been pushing very, very hard, but of course he doesn't want to go across there if he can help it. You can sometimes be penalised.
Michael Schumacher's 5th Monaco win and his 48th career win coming up. Another glorious 1-2 for the Maranello concern of Ferrari. And that will mean 16 Constructors' Championship points, 10 Drivers' Championship points for Michael Schumacher, who is allowing Rubens Barrichello, as Schumacher looks in the mirrors, to close right up on his rear wing. It's going to be a formation finish, as you predicted, Martin. Into the swimming pool and out of it for the last time. Schumacher has only now got to go round the Rascasse, which he is at. First gear, 20 miles an hour. Coasted home, Michael. And around the Anthony Nogue corner, up comes Rubens Barrichello. Schumacher wins in Monaco. Barrichello is second, right behind his team leader. 16 points for Ferrari, 10 for Michael Schumacher, 6 for Barrichello. What about third place?
Yeah, well, that was the photo for all the albums at the end of the year. The show finish there from Ferrari, 1-2 over the line, and Irvine then clearly is comfortably going to take that final podium position. And James Allen was pointing out, as the Stewart team, they've had their first podium here. Now Jaguar, that team morphed into Jaguar, and their first podium then over the line in Monte Carlo. Villeneuve 4th.
Well done, Eddie Irvine. That is a brilliant drive. He's had a lot of criticism this year, and he has phlegmatically struck to his last, and he's paid off. But you can see now Jenson Button pursued by the Sauber, but they're on different laps, of course. And the Monaco Grand Prix victory in the year 2001 goes to Ferrari and Schumacher, with Barrichello and Ferrari in second place. A lot of very happy people there, including Jean Todt, the team manager, but not nearly as happy, I'm sure, as Jaguar. First World Championship points this year, first podium ever. Eddie Irvine, great drive. And 3 points to BAR and Jacques Villeneuve. David Coulthard, after a stonking drive from last to 5th position, gets 2 points. And Prost do indeed, with John and Lacey finishing in 6th place, get that 1 World Championship point, which is going to get their tails very high indeed.
So Michael increases his lead in the World Championship. Crucial 2 points then for David Coulthard. Strong drive from Barrichello, the man you're looking at now, but not strong enough to match this man, the 5 times winner of this Grand Prix. Coulthard then maintaining his record of scoring points in every Grand Prix this year.
Indeed, he has, yes. Second place in Brazil, 3rd place in Malaysia, a brilliant win in Australia, 2nd place, brilliant win in Brazil, and then that 2nd place again at Imola, 5th in Spain, a win in Austria, and now another 5th place. And that means to say that Michael Schumacher has extended his World Championship lead over David Coulthard from 4 points to 12. Rubens Barrichello, of course, is still in 3rd position as a result of that 2nd place that he has had in the race. In 4th place, it's still Ralf Schumacher and Heidfeld, and is in 5th place. But Jacques Villeneuve has now moved ahead of the German Heidfeld and his Sauber team to 6th in the Drivers' Championship. So BAR and Jaguar and Prost have got a return and a reward at Monaco after all their efforts. And Ferrari have shown that if you stick at it the way they have by appointing new people and continuing to improve the product, you can become a Grand Prix and a championship winner.
But I can't help think that we were robbed of a great sporting event this afternoon with Häkkinen's technical problems, whatever Coulthard's problems were on the start line, because the pace of the McLarens when they were running was just sensational. So it would have been a true head-to-head this afternoon, and one I'm afraid we've been robbed of.
Yeah, let us remind ourselves that David Coulthard not only has those 2 World Championship points for 5th place, but a terrific fastest lap, record lap at Monaco, 1:19.4, and he did it on his 68th lap, 10 laps from the end, when he'd got past Bernoldi and everybody else. Now, there were some hard feelings between Barrichello and Michael Schumacher, not between Michael Schumacher and Barrichello in the past, and Michael congratulates his old Ferrari teammate Eddie Irvine on having achieved a podium position for his new team. New last year, Jaguar, and he's still there this year. Eddie will, I'm quite sure, when he's talking in the interview room, be very calm and dispassionate about it all. He will say that this is what we were trying to do and we must continue to keep trying. Very, very happy Ferrari team. Very, very happy Michael Schumacher. He stopped by the Royal Box, and that is Prince Rainier with the grey hair and the glasses. Whether it's going to be him or his son Prince Albert that presents the prize, I do not know. But now, to confirm the caption that you're seeing, Ferrari are 32, a massive 32 points ahead of McLaren, as Michael Schumacher, cap on. First, it has on the side of the cap Rubens Barrichello, cap off, bows to His Serene Highness. Prince Albert gives him his trophy, and there's some very happy people, but as I said before, none so happy as Jaguar or Eddie Irvine. It's been a great drive. Williams still 3rd in the Constructors' Championship, Jordan in 4th position, but BAR have now moved ahead of Sauber, so Craig Pollock's team is getting there. So the strains of the Italian national anthem to honour Ferrari die away with their 2 men up there on the top step.
Does Michael Schumacher do that? Look, his hair is not even the slightest bit wet. He's not been sweating at all. I know he's been cruising at the front this afternoon, but it's amazing.
He's nauseatingly fit. But then so's David Coulthard. They've got to be the 2 fittest men in Grand Prix racing. So, well, as you pointed out, Martin, it could have been a more dramatic race if David Coulthard had got away well, but it just wasn't to be. But now David has extended his already dramatic lead over his teammate Mika Häkkinen, double world champion, by a further 2 points. And the championship is not yet won by Michael Schumacher. 10 races to go. It's all to play for.
Thank you, Murray. Thank you, Martin. New contract for Michael Schumacher this week, £25 million a year, basic. cheap at half the price after what he's done here today. Don't go away. We'll be hearing from the top three. We hope David Coulthard will have a word with us as well. We'll be enjoying ourselves at the Grand Prix ball, and there is expert analysis from Tony Jardine and Mark Blundell. Meantime, ITV Sport is very much in the fast lane.
Here we go.
Pour sa deuxième place par tous les mécanos, alors qu'on essaye de les récupérer pour les amener du côté de la conférence de presse, mais pour le moment ils sont tellement accaparés par leurs mécanos pour leur présence ici sur la première et deuxième marche.
Now water and subject.
Édition du Monaco Kart Cup et également donc un challenge star à Monaco pour
Good. That was a good race. Very well done.
That will, I'd say too much for your data. It had, it looked to me like a crack sugar break, but about the car.
Yeah, we'll be having that.
Over it, boys.
When we go for it zero, no, it doesn't. It takes about 40% of the test.
Das war dieses Wochenende. Im nächsten Jahr findet der letzte Grand Prix statt vom 23. bis zum 26. Mai. Auch da hoffe ich, Sie wieder hier an der Liste
zu sehen. 4 Tage Rennsport, alles Beste, wunderschönen Tag. Kommen Sie gut nach Hause, genießen noch die verbleibende Zeit in Monaco. Herzlichen Dank, dass Sie uns zugehört haben.
It's Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello and Eddie Irvine. Michael, many, many congratulations. Your 5th win here at the Great Circuit, and in some ways perhaps your easiest once the McLaren failed to start again. What do you think of that?
I don't know. Obviously, they did have some kind of problem with one car at least. The other car started normal. I have no idea. Speak to them, and I don't want to really say anything to that. I think I should talk about my issue.
It seems that only the truly great win at Monaco many times. You've won 5 times. Other multiple winners have been Ayrton Senna and Alan Prost and Graham Hill. What's so special? What do you need to do around here to win?
Finish the race, first of all. It's quite important because here it's very easy to do mistakes. It's a very hard circuit. Although it was an easy drive, it is still hard to some degree because we do still reasonable fast lap times. I don't know what is so special. I certainly love that circuit. I have always found it easier to find my setup, which is very important again here, to throw around the car through the corners. But you have to be lucky to some degree as well.
Was the race easier this year with the traction control automatic gearboxes, or was it still as challenging as ever?
Pretty challenging. No, because you have the traction control, it means you go faster actually, and that means it's physically to some degree harder.
Michael, thank you. Rubens, you celebrated extending your Ferrari contact with a superb 2nd place, but it looked very straightforward from outside. Was it for you?
Not at all. I mean, I had quite a lot of trouble since lap 10, 9, 10, because I started having cramp on my foot. Something happened to the pedals because they were vibrating quite a lot. And actually Ross became a physiotherapist because I was telling him, you know, if he knew something that I could do inside of the car, because it was really, really bad. It was a time I could hardly feel my right foot, and you know, he was saying drink water, and at one stage it was gone. So I was having quite a lot of problem inside of the car actually.
Rubens, thank you. Eddie, many, many congratulations to you. It's your 1st podium since leaving Ferrari. It's Jaguar's 1st podium ever. You must be delighted for yourself and the team.
Yeah, it's fantastic to get a podium, and especially here, you know. To have 2 Ferraris and a Jaguar on the podium in Monaco's really what Formula One's about in a way. We've got to see if we can consistently get up here, though. That's, you know, Monaco's a strange circuit, and we've been quick here all weekend. Let's hope we can carry that speed into Canada.
Not a totally uneventful race. I believe you hit the barrier. Were there no ill effects from that?
I touched the barrier at the swimming pool, but it was on the inside wheel, and I was pretty much sliding when I hit it, so it just made me slide a little bit more, but no ill effects at all.
Thank you, Eddie. Michael, we go to the completely different circuit now at Canada, which is all about high speed. You've got a 12-point lead in the championship. What's the programme between then and now for Ferrari?
We will be testing next week Monaco for 3 days. In order, I think it's the last test we can do before the Monaco race, if I'm right. It's not a particular test for Canada, obviously, but we know very well what we have to do for Canada. We prepared for that, and let's hope we can show again a 1-2.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Well done. And now a word from Michael and Rubens in your own language, starting with Michael.
Ja, Michael Schumacher zijn 5e zege hier in Monaco. Of hij iets met deze baan heeft. Nou, hij houdt in ieder geval wel van de race in Monaco. En vindt er altijd snel de juiste afstelling. En dat is ook wel nodig hier. Maar om hier succes te hebben moet je in ieder geval 1 ding doen. En dat is namelijk de finish halen. Nou, dat deed Schumacher. En ja, zonder de McLaren's was het natuurlijk wel een stuk makkelijker. Maar toch geen makkelijke race. Want ja, je hebt traction control. En daardoor ga je harder. En moet je dus als coureur beter concentreren. En nog beter oppassen dat je niet in de fout gaat. We weer even kijken naar de Jean Alesi. Toch goed voor de 1 WK-punt. Het eerste van Prost dit seizoen. Tevreden Michael Schumacher. Tevreden Rubens Barrichello ook. Alhoewel hij een ongebruikelijk probleem had. Kramp in zijn rechtervoet. En hij vroeg aan de fysiotherapeut, wat kan ik daaraan doen tijdens de race, Tom? Toen zei de fysiotherapeut, veel drinken.
Veel water drinken, ja, dat kan natuurlijk iets hebben. Ik heb het ook wel eens een keer gehad. Toen bleek het niet aan drank of aan vocht te maken te hebben. Maar had ik het probleem dat in het stoeltje een bepaald drukpunt heb. En natuurlijk omdat het zo hobbelig is op dit circuit, ja, kan dat een spier of een nerve kan dat een beetje drukken. Ja, dan heb je dus een probleem.
Kijk even naar het zure gezicht van Jos Verstappen, dat bijna op onweer staat. Want ja, nou wel zijn, er had ook een WK-punt voor hem in kunnen zitten als het niet mis was gegaan daar bij die pitstop. Ook een blije Eddie Irvine. Achter de tafel bij de persconferentie de eerste podiumklassering voor Jaguar. En ook zijn eerste sinds een vertrek naar het team van Jaguar en het verlaten van Ferrari. Tevreden Eddie Irvine die nog eens zei, ach ja, 2 Ferraris en een Jaguar. Nou, mooier kun je het toch niet hebben hier in Monaco. Terwijl de cameraman er maar geen genoeg van krijgt, van die beauty shots. En Schumacher op naar Canada. En dat doen ze met 3 dagen testen op Magny-Cours. Niet speciaal gericht op de Grote Prijs van Canada. Maar het is de laatste keer dat ze op Magny-Cours kunnen testen voor de Grote Prijs van Frankrijk. Dat was even kortweg de samenvatting van de persconferentie. En de zoenen zijn voor Jean Alesi, die ook Tom een goede race heeft gereden.
Ja, absoluut. Het is natuurlijk voor de pros een soortement van overwinning om 6e te worden. Het is voor de jongens zoveel keer moeilijker om te scoren. Dat ik zoiets heb van, ja jongens, dit is grandioos. Het team heeft natuurlijk financiële problemen. Een beetje problemen met de rijders gehad. Een wissel, geld, maar ze wilden de rijder niet.
Ja. Hey, duidelijk. Nou, nog even terugblikken. Eerst die start waar dus Coulthard ontbrak. Want kijk, hier gaat het mis bij het begin van de opwarmronde. Nou, zure gezicht dan al meteen bij McLaren. Dan gaan we dus zonder Coulthard van start. Het gaat wel allemaal goed. Schumacher pakt de leiding voor Hakkinen. Barrichello en dan binnendoor zometeen Ralf Schumacher bij Eddie Irvine. En ook Montoya profiteert. Maar Newey zit het dan al niet meer zitten. En dan hebben we hier de eerste uitvallen. Dat is de heer Nick Heidfeld van Sauber. Raakt daar de muur. En zou niet de laatste zijn. Daar gaat Montoya, hetzelfde geval. Wagen breekt een beetje uit over de curbstones en boem, de muur in. Weg Montoya en Schumacher gaat vrolijk door terwijl er achterin David Coulthard aan een opmars begint. Maar lange tijd achter Bernoldi zit. En dan zien we hier het moment dat Hakkinen van het gas af moet, noodgedwongen. En Barrichello voorbij laat zich in de pits meldt. Het dan nog wel een keertje probeert. Maar later voor de tweede maal binnenkomt en het dan wel gelooft. En dus weer geen punten voor Mika Hakkinen. Hier hebben we dan Bernoldi met David Coulthard. En Coulthard komt er maar niet langs. Bernoldi krijgt 350.000 keer de blauwe vlag in die race, maar gaat niet aan de kant. Schumacher aan de leiding, geen vuiltje aan de lucht. Hier is een jongere broer Ralf, op dat moment op de 3e plaats. Dus op weg naar een podiumklassering. En die Irvine op de 4e plaats daarachter. Oeps, even een klein foutje. Maar komt ermee weg. En hij gaat vrolijk door, Michael Schumacher. Met een klare sniertje daar aan de zijkant van de wagen, maar dat heeft verder geen invloed op zijn prestaties. De chronometers van Jean Todt. En dan zien we dat hier Jarno Trulli vlam vat aan de achterkant. Een vuurzee en Trulli ligt eruit. En brengt zichzelf in veiligheid. Een van de vele uitvallers. Een van de 12 uitvallers hier in Monaco. Een zipkijkende Eddie Jordan. En dat zou niet de laatste keer zijn. Daar de eerste fout van Fisichella. Bang! Met zijn linker achterwiel bij Saint-Devote in de muur. Maar dan kan hij nog door. En houdt hij nog even de 6e plaats vast. Hier hebben we Frenze, jagend op Jean Alesi. En dan gaat het opnieuw mis voor Fisichella. En nu ligt hij er wel uit. En dan schuift Alesi een plaatsje op en Frenze dus ook. Maar kijk, Frenze mist het rempunt in de muur. Vliegt naar buiten toe. De hele zijkant van de wagen beschadigd. En ook hij ligt eruit. Dan de volgende uitvaller, dat is Fernando Alonso. Hij heeft ook vlam gevat. Hier het moment waarop Ralf Schumacher Eddie Irvine voorbij laat. Opgejaagd door David Coulthard. En dan grijpt hij, nou niet naar zijn hoofd, want het lukt wat moeilijk met een helm op. Maar baalt hij wel. Ralf Schumacher, ook hij valt uit. En dan Eddie Irvine op de 3e plaats. En dan schikt hij hier eventjes. Nou, Irvine niet, maar de rest van Jaguar wel. Nog een keer een pitstop van Alesi. Coulthard kan er dan voorbij. En dan ligt Jean Alesi op de 6e plaats. Maar dat is ook goed voor een WK-punt. Irvine krijgt dan nog even bezoek van Jacques Villeneuve. Die nog oprukt. Maar de Ferraris worden 1 en 2. En Villeneuve redt het. Ik bedoel zeggen, Irvine redt het voor Villeneuve. Rahal tevreden. Want het is de eerste podiumklassering voor Jaguar. Goed gedaan jongens. Handje omhoog bij Eddie Irvine. En Ferrari deelt hier een harde klap uit aan het team van McLaren. Door de dubbel te pakken. Schumacher vergroot zijn voorsprong op Coulthard naar 12 punten. En nog even een donut Als toegift van Jean Alesi. Mooi moment. De man die dus het eerste puntje van Prost pakt dit seizoen. Onder leiding van Prins Reinier de derde. De prijsuitreiking. En dan de hele dure champagne voor Schumacher en Rubens Barrichello. En die smaakt goed zo te zien. Op de schouders. Michael Schumacher. Zijn 48e overwinning. Zijn 4e dit seizoen. Een hele belangrijke in de strijd om de wereldtitel. Kijk maar, hier nog even de stand. 52. Nu voor Schumacher, koeltijd 40. Barrichello loopt uit op Ralf Schumacher. Heidveld scoorde niks. Villeneuve nu samen met Trulli op de 6e plaats. Allebei 7 punten. Montoya scoorde ook geen punten. Frenze ook niet. Panis niet. Irvine wel. Die staat nu op de 11e plaats. En Hakkinen nog steeds maar 4 puntjes. En dan Jos Verstappen. Hij was er wel in de buurt. Maar ja, die mislukte pitstop waarbij zijn motor afsloeg. Geen punten voor Jos Verstappen. Hij wordt 8e in Monaco. Goed, wij nemen afscheid van u. Terwijl u rustig kunt gaan kijken naar de stand in het constructeurskampioenschap. We hebben gekeken naar een leuke race. Over 2 weken dan gaan we naar Montreal in Canada. Voor, eens even kijken op mijn blaadje als ik dat zo gauw kan vinden. Volgens mij alweer even spieken de 8e race van dit seizoen. Het gaat hard als het gezellig is. En dan zult u het zonder mij moeten doen. Want dan vertoef ik in Amerika bij de finales van het Amerikaanse basketbalkampioenschap. Maar reken maar dat we een waardig vervanger zullen vinden. En Tom is er dan ook weer bij. Tot volgende keer. Dag.
I think that was a good experience for me, and I getting more experience, and I think that was a good race.
Now you held David Coulthard up for most of that race. Can you tell us about that? Did it give you any added pressure?
Yeah, for sure. He was much quicker than what I was, but we were on the same. We was like 4 positions, so I think that my team didn't give me any order to let him pass, and I was just concentrated on my race.
Enrico, well done. Thank you.
So I think we would have been comfortably up front today.
What about David? When you came up to lap it, he was trying very, very hard to get past Ben Elsham and to almost pull over and stop to let you pass. Did you have any problems with back markers?
No, I mean, as you say, I guess David saw me in the mirrors and he was obviously trying to get by Ben Elsham not to be left because it would have been important for him later in the race. And he almost crashed in the mirror for what I could see at least. And then I was behind him and leaving for a room. He was very fair on race. Otherwise there was no problem with back markers.
Thank you, Michael. Well done. Rubens, early on you got past Hakkinen and Nico, but I don't know what the problem was with him. Did you see what happened?
Not really. I was quite broken in back a little bit, and all of a sudden I saw a car almost stopping with no smoke or anything like that.
I think to be a race around lap 10 actually manifests itself a bit later to like 17, 18 laps. It was about 2 seconds a lap. During the race that I'll be going out on the
Was it let's go?
Let's get out of here.
Look, played the catch.
made a reasonable start. It wasn't quite as good as the Williams one. Williams sort of pulled on me a bit, but I got round the outside of Ralph at the first corner, and then he pushed me in wide, and I had to just back off and get him in the line, you know, so then Montoya got me. But then it was just a matter of I just dropped back maybe 2 seconds and just sat there waiting to see what would happen. But this podium really seems to mean a lot. It's good for all the guys in the team. Everyone's been working very hard. You know, we haven't been getting very far, to be honest, until these new aerodynamics arrived on Saturday. So it's good for the guys in the factory now.
So how much is the aero package, or so how much is this result you, and how much is it the aero package?
Since it's not contract negotiation time, it's probably mostly to do with the aero package. No, it made it's a huge step. Like I was 4 years in Ferrari, and I probably never seen a gain of half what we gained for this weekend. You know, so it's a huge step. Whether it translates into a better result, for sure it'll be better in Canada, but you know, here it's all about downforce. Canada is a lot of efficiency is very important, and our efficiency is not very good.
This is a big step forward, but it's still a really one step behind other people. So if we go to Canada and we perform well there, then it goes well for the rest of the world, because the service is very different.
Bloody good event. Well done.
Yeah.
When you hit the area, were you surprised that it didn't do it? We didn't do it. One that I sort of remember on the way in where inside, where I definitely did trip up, but it was very, very small. It was a unloaded wheel, and I just sort of glanced along it, so I would have been surprised if something like that happened, to be honest, because I never even got a flick through the steering wheel.
And was the car consistent during the race?
The car handling was good. We got a problem with the car handling last year, but we had basically every race.
You're back with us at Monaco. Michael Schumacher led right from the start and has won the Monaco Grand Prix. Let me just confirm the result for you. Michael Schumacher 10 out of 10, Ferrari 1-2, brilliant from them. Eddie Irvine, he's so good round here, he's up on the podium again. Jacques Villeneuve, good for British American racing that, and David Coulthard battling through from the back to get 2 World Championship points. And Jean Alesi, 23 races he's had since his last points, and making his point here. The Drivers' Championship, it's now 12 points, the gap between Michael Schumacher and David Coulthard. Barrichello closing up on 24 points. Ralf Schumacher, the only other fellow into double figures. And the Constructors' Championship, well, of course, Ferrari really helped today. 76 points. McLaren on 44. Williams, who never go well round here, on 18. Miserable time for Jordan as well, but of course, Villeneuve doing okay for BAR. Only one person we want to hear from today, and that is David Coulthard. Here he is then, David, chatting to James Allen.
David, I was on your pit wall for most of the race, an extremely intense sense of frustration. I'm sure in the cockpit was similar.
Yeah, it was very frustrating behind Enrique. He was doing his job, but clearly he was so slow. It was just very difficult not to take a big risk. But unfortunately, every time I tried to do a dive, then he was closing the door quite late, I felt, which I guess he's entitled to do. But it just meant I had to sit there. It was inevitable that I would eventually get past, but it just was a long wait, and then I was able to push when I had clean air. And that obviously gained me the spaces to get in front of the other arrows in the Benetton.
Tell us about the dummy grid, what happened, what put you in this situation in the first place?
Technical problem of which the team will explain, but basically the engine was switched off.
Unbelievable. And Michael, of course, has got now 12 points up on you in the championship. It's not over yet, but a little bit more difficult, I guess, after this weekend.
Yeah, of course it gets more difficult when they open points, but I can only do my best, and I believe I've done that this weekend, and the rest is down to the racing god. So at the moment he gets the luck, and maybe in Montreal it'll be me.
Tough for David. Sparkle in his eyes before the start of this race, looking very tired indeed now. And just Tony, looking at the start, very basically that should not happen. Those cars should not stall.
There is an anti-stall mechanism on there, but we have to go back and see what happened in Spain. There's an incredible frustration. Imagine what he's shouting down the line now to the engineers. It stopped, bleep, 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 and so it's going on. But You don't know at this point on the formation lap. What he likes to do is go off manual start and then set to the launch control when he comes for the start proper. Between those two procedures is when the engine, if it's idling too slowly or lowly or whatever, it shouldn't stall, but clearly something has happened. He said the bugs are out of the system, but they're not.
Mark Blundell, we'll get your views on that in just a moment. Delighted that Jaguar boss Bobby Rahal is down there waiting to chat to us. Bobby, congratulations, it's been a while coming, this one.
Thank you. Well, it's been a long time, I guess. It's the first podium for Jaguar Racing, so I'm very proud of all the people in the team, and back home in Milton Keynes, and of course all the guys here on the team did a super job. So very, very pleased, and we hope this is the start of more good things.
Exactly how much does it mean for you to put Eddie Irvine on the podium here in Monaco?
Well, I was very pleased with the pace of the car. Ran right with the Williams. You know, the Michelin tires that were quite good for us, I think. It was very consistent. You know, Eddie knows how to get around this place, that's for sure. But the big thing, I think, is the performance of the car was strong all weekend. And, boy, it really, you couldn't have asked for more.
You need a bit more pace in that car, don't you? Because Monaco does camouflage one or two deficiencies, doesn't it?
Well, we'll see in Canada, won't we? But certainly I anticipate there'll continue to be quite a few changes to the car in the ensuing weeks and months, and this is just going to whet our appetite for more.
You're going to wet your throats tonight or take it all seriously?
Oh, I'm sure there's going to be some becks being had freely here in the motorhome.
Well done, Bobby. Thanks for joining us. Thank you. Okay, Mark, a brief word from you about David Coulthard, first of all. As a driver, when you're in that situation, how do you feel?
I tell you, huge frustration, and just to sit behind Benaldi for that long, a lot of patience from DC. I tell you for sure, I would have tried to punt the guy off way long before that.
Okay, we'll look at that in a moment. You've been waving the Juan Pablo Montoya flag all season. First time in a Formula One car around here, and a learning curve, eh?
Well, yeah, learning curve. I mean, he obviously just a little bit too quick too soon during the race, lost it on the secondary part of the curb and hit the left rear. Just, you know, a mess at the end of it. That's a rookie's mistake, shouldn't happen.
When we chatted to Bernie Eccleston before the start, he said he thought this could be Mika Häkkinen's day here. He looked to be going pretty well, and then, once again, a bit like David Coulthard, something happened to that McLaren, Tony.
Yeah, there's a bit of a mystery, but what we've got to remember is very, very high temperatures here today, and because of running traction control, this is where Rubens goes into second place. This is the first of 3 pit stops that Mika Häkkinen had to make. You know, down that transmission tunnel, there's the heat, there's the vibration, there's all sorts of problems could have occurred, and because of traction control. And this circuit, you know, everything's pulling on the transmission, stickier tyres as well. Imagine what the components are being put through. They're actually being tortured. And I feel that something in the transmission trail has let go.
Right, now, one or two people out there might never have heard of Enrique Bernaldi, but one or two might have been cursing him during the race, the way he held up David Coulthard. First of all, before we say that, was he in his rights?
Of course he was in his rights. It's for position. I mean, he's in his rights because he's in front of DC. But at this point, Coulthard's trying to get by. Bernaldi keeps shutting the door on him. And, you know, everyone's going to know Bernaldi now. He got plenty of airtime, didn't he, with the orange arrows. But I think David did the right thing. He used his brain, and it paid off with 2 points at the end of the race.
I mean, I could hear his fans out there almost going, push him off, push him out of the way. I mean, easier said than done.
Easier said than done. You can't go and do that in an F1 car. It's so fragile. You're going to be in the wall, or you're going to lose a rear upright, something like that. But 2 points is better than none. But how frustrating for the guy. His World Championship, you can just see it going away from him.
And even worse after what happened to him at the start there, Tony. He then has to move over and say, après vous, Michael Schumacher.
It's embarrassing. It's denting his pride at this point, and that's why I totally agree with Mark what he's saying there. He gets right out of the way. There was been a GPDA meeting, a Grand Prix Drivers Association meeting before this race, and they've all decided they're going to behave and keep out of each other's way. David is a director of that. Jarno Trulli's been made a true director, a new director of it. But it's embarrassing for him. But his patience has overridden everything, because he thought, no, race of attrition, I'll have to stick it out. It was 5 or 6 times he nearly lost his nose cone, didn't he, going down into Mirabeau.
Was he a bit too polite at times, David Coulthard?
I think his timing was just a little bit out, and where he was trying to tag onto the back of the car what was lapping Bernaldi to try and make the objective of his whole move. And I think Martin picked up on it during the commentary, but you know, it took him a long time before he could actually pull that off.
Good to see Eddie Irvine coming round here and getting up on the podium again.
Yeah, I mean, great race for Eddie. He drove superb. Great result for Jaguar. Goes by Schumacher there, and I think Schumacher's got some issues there with the car. not sure what really went on. It looks like he was either out of fuel or an engine problem, but I would say probably out with an engine problem. Once you put some fuel in this car, as you see on screen, he doesn't pull away again, so terminal. But what a result for Eddie Irvine. He's back on top again.
He is indeed. Great to see Eddie Irvine back on the podium, and that of course means that Eddie Irvine is back in the press conference they hold here in Monte Carlo for the top three. And let's have a word with them, shall we?
Michael, many, many congratulations. Your 5th win here.
No ill effects at all.
He'll have a good night tonight. Well, Eddie Irvine, he enjoyed himself last night as well at the Grand Prix ball. We will be joining him there when you rejoin us. You're back with us in Monaco now. The only place to be last night was the Grand Prix ball. Beverly Turner was on the guest list.
And welcome to the Monte Carlo Sporting Club. This is just up the road from the harbour, and it's the spectacular setting for tonight's charity Grand Prix ball. It's the eve of the race and tickets are like gold dust. But great news, we've got access all areas. So let's take a look. One of the many sporting heroes who's here tonight is Audley Harrison. How are you doing?
Hi, Viv. Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Is this one of the perks of being an Olympic gold medalist, would you say?
Most definitely. Yeah, you know, definitely I'm off for a week, so it's come around. It's a great time for me, and coming in, it's unbelievable, really. You know, Monte Carlo, Formula One, it's just so many faces here, and it's just the atmosphere is just really buzzing. It's really good.
What do you think of this whole Grand Prix sort of culture? It's pretty impressive, isn't it?
It's just a different world, especially in Monte Carlo. It's just a different world. Everyone just enjoying themselves.
Have you been to many Grand Prix?
This is my 5th, so I've been to a few. But because a lot of them in the season, you don't get a chance to go.
Ross Kemp, last time we saw you, you were in the pits with the Jordan team, I believe. You've scrubbed up all right, though.
Yeah, my hands are still dirty, though. I'm still suffering. Still got the burn for picking up the tyre the wrong way.
How are you enjoying this F1 world? It's quite amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very dapper. Very exciting. But I mean, one thing that I've learned in the time that I've been working with the Jordan team, that it's not all glamorous. Hard work. The boys are dedicated to their job.
Inside the sumptuous ballroom, they prepare to feed the 900 guests. Meanwhile, the drivers entertain the crowds with a few party games.
There we go, we're off. Up and running. Now cheer for your team, please. Look, you've got to keep them close together. It's the Orange Arrows team.
This is what Formula One should be, really. You know, there's lots of good-looking girls around. It's a great place. It's warm. There's boats. There's sea.
Formula One should be about.
It should be. It should be. I think so. That's the reason 99% of us do it.
Well, Eddie and the drivers resisted the temptation of another party and headed home for an early night, while the rest of us tucked into a fantastic 6-course meal, complete with a spectacular finale. Well, the ceiling's opened on the dining room, the fireworks are going off, and I'm realising that there is so much more to this sport than just fast cars and photo shoots. And it's Monaco, so it's a little bit special, but if this is even a hint of what this world is all about, I reckon I could get used to this.
We'll probably have to get used to the sounds of Italians celebrating tonight as they go back over the border. Mark, just sum it up for us, could you, the race?
The master, Schumacher, wins again. Eddie Irvine will be partying tonight for sure. But I think also the fact that DC, you know, patience paid off. And let's not forget Jean Alesi and the Prost. For me, that was one of the drivers of the whole race.
Tony?
Double red for Ferrari 99 and now again, but Eddie Irvine, last 5 years in the points, 4 of them on the podium, software and David Coulthard. Where is Bill Gates when you need him?
A lot of time left there for David Coulthard, of course, to pull things around. Highlights coming up for you tonight. Now have a little look at that. ITV2 first of all at 10:30 tonight and just after midnight here on ITV, and the repeat as always ITV2 tomorrow night at 7. Next stop for us is Canada. Bit of a different time, qualifying 11:25 p.m. on the Saturday. The race live, great time, Saturday afternoon at 5:15, and highlights just after midnight. Well, there we are then. Dreadful luck for David Coulthard. Another Monte Carlo triumph for Mr. Monaco, Michael Schumacher. Quite simply, streets ahead again. Bye-bye from us all.
Mika Häkkinen, very bad luck. What happened there?
Well, we don't have exactly 100% understanding yet what's going on, but I just lost the balance of the car completely, and the steering wheel wasn't straight, so I was a bit concerned.
Had you hit anything at any time? Had you hit the barriers at all? Bad luck.
Very bad luck. What happened to you?
Coming to the back, I lost the gears and the throttle. I guess it's a hydraulic problem. I'm not sure, but I had to stop the car in the track. And that was the end of a shitty Grand Prix for me.
Thank you, Pedro.
Control back on, please.
Giancarlo Fisichella, very bad luck, up to 6, but you had a couple of problems.
Yeah, I lost the hydraulic pressure. And in downshift, there was not downshift, so I lost the control of the car and spun off.
You had a huge hit against barriers and got away with it. You hit the barriers very hard. Did that damage the car at all?
Just from suspension. I'm okay, so I'm just very sad.
Bad luck, thank you.
Marquez, a very disappointing end to a disappointing race. Can you tell me what happened?
First of all, I had a lot of electronic problems. It was changing gear wrong sometimes, and then I lost traction control completely. And at the end, I stopped because the drive shaft broke.
I'll say thank you.
Thank you guys. Great, reliable and fast car, I would say. Yeah, as I said, well, we have some radio braking. Anyway, now I'm going into the tunnel. We'll continue to speak, but probably I'm breaking up. Yeah, that's a superb voice. You guys have done a superb job. Well, we have to be there. We are there. I've given me a fantastic car. It was obviously comfortable after the McLarens were gone, but still, I mean, you have to do it, and you have done a superb pit stop. Everything great, thanks for that.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for your drive, Michael. Perfect.
Although a disappointing start, what a hell of a race.
Yeah, hard race, but that's Formula One. You've got to take the good with the bad.
What happened at the start? Could you tell us a little bit more about it?
An electronic problem. The team will explain.
Enrique Benoldi, David Coulthard, you never saw his face so often or his car so often in the mirror, I think.
Well, he was pushing and he was much faster than me behind me, but we were racing, so I tried to do my best for me and I was pushing until the end. That's racing, I think.
So you must be very happy with your finish today.
I'm happy that I finished, you know. I think I touched somebody on the start and I think we had a little bit wrong on the setup, but I think it was quite good. It was quite positive to go into the end.
First podium for Jaguar and the first podium for you at Jaguar. What can we say?
It's good, it's great. Let's hope it continues. You know, we were a little bit fortunate today, but, you know, without problems for the big four, we can't get on the podium. So, you know, we got to be the best of the rest, and that's what we're trying to do.
Canada?
We just got to wait and see. It's a totally different circuit from here. But we've got a great engine. Aerodynamics are very, very important there, and we'll see how good ours are.
I was wondering that the race was going on for so long, because when you're only there, it never seems to end. You really would like to finish after 10 laps. But, well, anyway, it was hard work, because you really need to finish, you really need to concentrate, and in some ways it's harder than being in a fight, because then you don't think about anything, you just fight and you drive naturally. This is a bit of an unnatural driving.
Well done, Eddie. Has the big cat finally found its claws?
She's been saving that one up. I can see you thinking about 2 hours about that one last night. We see. This one's, it's too early to say, you know. We qualified well here, the car's been good all weekend. Canada's a very different circuit. If we go well in Canada, that will then tell us we're going to go well at all the circuits really from now on. But we got to keep working. You know, this floor has been really in development since the beginning of the season. That's far too long. You know, we need wind tunnels in England, and we need more manufacturing. We need more of everything just to be able to keep this development going. If you don't do that, you fall back again until you find the next big step.
Bobby, many congratulations. How does it feel?
Oh, fantastic. Very happy for the team back home and proud of these guys. And, you know, we're getting there. I hope this isn't the last we see of this, but Eddie drove a great race and the car performed flawlessly. Cosworth did a great job. We're just very happy for everybody.
It's not over yet, but a little bit more difficult, I guess, after this weekend.
Yeah, of course it gets more difficult when they open points, but I can only do my best, and I believe I've done that this weekend, and the rest is down to the racing god. So at the moment he gets the luck, and maybe in Montreal it'll be me.
Let's just confirm the result for you. 10 out of 10 for Michael Schumacher. Rubens Barrichello following his teammate home. Good to see Eddie Irvine on the podium again. Villeneuve with 3 more points for BAR. Just a couple for David Coulthard. And a Lacey's first point for 24 races. Michael Schumacher's 5th Monaco win. Only Ayrton Senna with 6 has won more. The German now 12 points clear of Coulthard. Barrichello a clear 3rd. Ralf Schumacher, he just can't finish here. Villeneuve's best ever Monaco, generating 3 points. A 16-point maximum taking Ferrari well clear in the constructors. No change for Williams or for Jordan. Villeneuve takes BAR above Sauber because of that 3rd place in Spain. Okay, Tony, David Coulthard, dreadful at the start. What happened to him there?
Well, pole hero to 0, go to the back and start again. Incredible frustration for him. I suspect that he may have gone off a manual start for the formation lap. Then the transition, the software, when he needs to go onto launch control after that, it should have taken over. There's an anti-stall mechanism on there. Maybe there's a bug in the system still, although it was bug-free, said David Coulthard. Otherwise, it's finger trouble for the driver, as it was with Mika Häkkinen not so long ago in Austria. We'll have to wait and find out, Jim.
We'll have to wait and find out. The bottom line is, though, those cars just should not stall. They spent hours and hours, days and days testing to make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, this again is the frustration thing, because they've done so many practice starts. Because of the danger here, after every practice session, they were doing launch control starts. They were launch control starts. This is going from the manual through to the launch control, switching from one to the other, whether it's procedural or whether it's in the software. Bring back Bill Gates, I say.
People would say it was a very straightforward Monaco Grand Prix, and one or two spectacular incidents, though.
Oh, I'm not at all. I mean, the aggressive driving of Juan Pablo Montoya comes out fighting, doesn't he? And despite all their massive amount of wins, 69 wins for Honda, all the development still has to go on. And unfortunately, up goes the engine, but they got 3 good points for Jacques Villeneuve. Giancarlo Fisichella slapping the wall there. And later on, at the very same place, Sander Vogt, he was to go out. And he's normally a podium man here, a good street fight driver.
In Britain, thousands and thousands of people would be cursing the Brazilian Bernaldi, but he was quite within his rights what he did to David Coulthard.
He was, but it's more a case of Coulthard sitting it out and being patient. Imagine what he was feeling. I should be potentially winning this race. I should be potentially looking at 10 points. And he could have boiled over easily. He could have really, really seen red and had a go. If that was Montoya, he would have tried to shunt Bernaldi off at the start, probably. That's the difference in between. That's the difference in the attitude this year to David Coulthard. Taking stock, taking control, you know, and he gets points at the end of it.
Eddie Irvine always goes well around Monaco, and great to see Fast Eddie up on the podium again.
It was great because at the Monaco Ball last night, I was hosting a thing and he smashed all these glasses off the track. I said, don't do that tomorrow. He said, no way, no way. You know, he was really up for it. The glint was in the eye last night as he says, I love this place. And as Ralf Schumacher pulled in with problems, there Eddie Irvine heads towards the first ever podium for Jaguar. And it's a shame for Ralf because he's had a poor record here. He gashed his leg last year. But for Irvine and Jaguar, I think it's sensational.
David Coulthard remains very much in the hunt. We thought for a while it was going to be 1 point. He ended up, though, with a couple.
Well, Jean Alesi came in for this late pit stop, whether they needed a splash and dash, whatever the little problem was. He'd come in, but at this point, just coming around was David Coulthard, there, straight across the nose of the Prost. So 2 points for David Coulthard, but Prost still get their first championship point of the year, so it's good for them.
Got to finish off by talking about Michael Schumacher. An easy drive, really, along the Riviera for him, and nothing on the brow at the end, just a wink.
I noticed there was 4 or 5 hairs out of place, maybe. So, you know, it was a very, very hot day out there, not just for the driver, for the machinery. But it's double red for Ferrari. They did the 1-2, remember, with Irvine in '99. Done it again here with Barrichello. I think it's superb for Ferrari. It's going to be tough to catch them.
OK, Tony, thank you very much indeed. Well, our next port of call, bit of a long haul for us. We go to Canada, and you can see the qualifying 11:25 p.m. on the Saturday night. The race live at a superb time, really, 5:15 on the Sunday afternoon, and highlights just after midnight. Well, really, David Coulthard lost 8 points today. He is playing catch-up with the streetwise Mr. Monaco, Michael Schumacher, as we head for Canada. Thanks very much for watching. Good night to you all.
If you'd like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by Foster's is www.itv-f1.com.